All right, everybody. Welcome back to another Tuesday night episode of AIMBOT. I'm actually super excited for this. So it's October, it's the spooky month. We got to get some spooky games in here. So these are two games that I just barely finished because I am actually really terrible about horror. You can ask my wife. I can't handle it at all. It's not a thing that I could do, but I pushed through it. I had to get through these games because I wanted to show these off. I've got two really excellent Resident Evil runners here. Started off, we've got Captain Ezekiel doing RE7. So, Zeke, let's go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Amy. What's up, everyone? I'm Captain Ezekiel. Before I explain what we're about to do, I'm joined by one of my greatest friends and RE7 homie, Niddle. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. How's it going? My name is Niddle. I am an RE7 fanatic and a avid speedrunner of the game, and I'm really excited for this. I have notes. I'm super prepared. This is going to be the most commentary-filled RE7 speedrun you've ever seen. So yeah, Zeke.
Heck yeah, man. Like, it's going to be great. We're getting a lot of information for you. Basically, what we're doing is we're running RE7 any percent New Game Plus easy. New Game Plus, if you don't know what that means, it means we're taking the bonus items we get for beating the game on Madhouse, beating it in under 4 hours, and just completing the game to give us the Albert, the Saw, the Infinite Ammo, a whole bunch of fun stuff, and we're gonna roll through it. So we're gonna be starting on go. So 3, 2, 1, go, and off we go. Also, I forgot to mention this is any percent. Now, with any percent, usually you would see games that have a crazy amount of skips. We have a handful. Some are relatively complex and not forgiving. We get to utilize some cool stuff. I'm not going to spoil too much, but we might be going out of the bounds, maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, the out of bounds is actually one of the reasons I was super stoked because, like, I played this game casually and I had no clue that there were so many out of bounds for this run.
Yeah, we have the one out of bounds that we use in the run. There's actually 3 total that exist. Only one is usable, and we'll kind of mention those ones that could exist later, but we won't be using them. But the one that we do use is I would say, and Niddle can correct me, but I feel like he might feel the same way. But this is probably the most convoluted and complex out of bounds route that I've ever participated in a game. Is actually insane. Once you learn the run, you start to really understand it. Kind of simplifies it a little bit, but from your perspective, it might look a little whack. We're doing some weird stuff.
Yeah, this out of bounds involves manipulating AI, making sure we're in the right spot, making sure he's in the right spot. It's pretty involved. Just to answer a few initial questions that a lot of people might have. Cutscenes are not skippable, other than one, and this is because they're actually rendered in-engine. And I think part of it has to do with the VR aspect, since this game was designed for VR. So the cutscenes do add to the in-game time, but the run is timed by in-game time for the speed run, so this is actually totally okay. And in-game time isn't counted whenever we menu or anything like that, other than inventory. And yes, we are playing in Japanese, as you may have noticed. And Japanese is the fastest language by about a second, with English being the slowest by almost a full second.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because the English voice actors, especially for Jack, are just like, dude, they're perfect. They're so good. The voice acting in this game is amazing. Jack, Katie O'Hagan, they all actually did such an amazing job in this game. But we play in Japanese about a second faster because gotta save as much time as we can possibly get for this game. And now we're off. We finally get control of Ethan. Takes about 3 minutes, and we actually get to start playing the game. You'll get used to that theme a little bit with the number of cutscenes that we do have in the game. But now we're doing a guest house, and Niddle, we love guest house here, don't we?
Guest house is probably the part that we've seen the most of in the game. Sometimes you forget that the end of the game even exists, but this is actually a sort of a deceptively hard to optimize section. There's a lot of little movement stuff and a lot of little things, especially in terms of interactions, which are going to be coming up. But for the most part, we're just making our way to the guest house. We're going to cut corners as much as we can. Coming up, Zeke is going to crouch right at the perfect frame so that way he can get through that little gap just perfectly. And you can actually lose upwards of a second, just sort of if you bonk into the wall a little bit. So it's from start to finish, this is a extremely optimized run. And you guys are actually in for a big treat because Zeke is by far one of the top runners. He has more experience in this game than anybody reasonably should, perhaps. So coming up here, this is a retry. You're going to see a few of these. They serve a few purposes. This one in Guest House, this first one, resets Ethan's movement speed. Ethan has a few states of movement speed. He has sort of an outdoor running speed and an indoor running speed. And we're going to use the retries to sort of manipulate that throughout the run. So when you see those quick retries, that's usually what that is. And here, he's going to change his FPS, which you're also going to see a few instances of. And this is because the game operates where hitboxes are actually changed depending on your FPS. So in essence, the best way to think of it is Ethan becomes slippery when you drop your FPS. So since we're on PC, we can switch our FPS from variable down to 30. And that allows us to squeeze through certain objects that would normally kind of hold us back a little bit.
Yeah, to quote another RE7 runner and good friend, Moonrunes, it's as though Ethan jumps into a giant vat of butter, and he suddenly is able to squeeze through tight nooks and crannies and past enemies and stuff like that. And it's no exaggeration. We quite literally will slide past enemies and through them to just get through them faster when we're at 30 FPS. It's
actually kind of nice because if you're in danger and you don't want to deal with an enemy, you can actually just drop your FPS and usually just sort of squeeze past. So Zeke is going to look at the wall here because it's a beautiful wall, but also because there's a jump scare that the game wants Zeke to see. But if you look at the wall, the jump scare actually doesn't appear. If you've played through this game, you may know a body pops up. His name is Andre. And he's supposed to give you a real big fright, but since we're trying to go fast, we're just like, nah, that's not what we're about. And here's our wife, and she's totally normal.
Yeah,
totally
we beat
fine.
the game.
We did it.
We did it.
GG.
Yeah, it's over. We found her. Awesome. All right, let's go home. The ladder's broken, but we could actually like jump on Mia's shoulders and then we could pull her up. I think it's totally fine. This is probably one of the biggest deters of Guest House. There's actually a category that was birthed because we all just hate Guest House so much called No Guest House, which is essentially a game that starts from a loaded save file after the dinner cutscene and after you interact with Jack for the first time, and we just bypass this all completely. It's an extension, kind of a meme category, but it is nice significantly for like practicing the main game because this takes about 5 minutes until we're able to actually do something again. It's actually about 4 minutes rather. But we're walking behind Mia because, as you can tell, she's slow, man. Slow. Look at this. This isn't even legally walking, I don't think. Like,
and
what
the thing
is this?
there's
this invisible wall.
There's more than enough room for Ethan to squeeze past. It's just there's an invisible wall. A big question that comes up, I think, is can we go out of bounds to skip this Mia auto-scroller? And the short answer is no. The long answer is because this game is so tied to triggers and it requires you to hit certain checkpoints to activate like the next segment of the game, you could get past Mia, but the very next interaction that you're supposed to do, which is to open up the cabinet and pick up the fuse, spoiler alert, you won't be able to interact with that. You might be able to open the cabinet, but you can't pick up the fuse. And even if you can pick up the fuse, you can't put it where you need to put the fuse. So throughout the game, there's so many sequences that require you to do certain triggers before you can get to the next point, with this one being perhaps the longest. So sequence breaks, there are actually only, there's kind of technically one, but it's more of just we're cutting out some movement during the out of bounds. So it's actually a pretty sequenced run for the most part.
Yeah, the game is very locked down with flags and triggers. I've been through like the development of speedrun tools for this game, and I've seen the insides of it and how it works, and they're everywhere. The game checks constantly, and if you think you're ahead of the game and you try to skip something, it will punish you severely for it. which is strange because like its sequel, Village, doesn't have actually that issue as much with the 90% categories because they get to go out of bounds and skip quite a bit actually. Whereas in this game, you're not skipping much at all.
Yeah. So this is this. Believe it or not, this wall is a strat. We're looking at a specific spot. This is the farthest you can be in the room while still being close enough to trigger the next scene. So Mia's going to get taken away here, and there's a little audio cue that Zeke's going to listen for. And Mia gets taken away. So he's turning pretty much exactly on the frame where Mia's getting taken away. You almost go preemptively before you even hear the scream. And now we're moving upstairs to check out what's going on in the bathroom. Nothing going on in the bathroom, and we're heading back down the hallway because there's a bang at the door.
I thought that was the wrong room. I thought that was the bedroom.
Oh, happens all the time. I know.
You ever get lost in the middle of the night? You wake up to go to the bathroom. You end up like in the kitchen. Like, come on. You can't lie to me, Chad. I know.
So.
Oh, it's Mia.
Yeah, this is our wife now. She's totally fine. Everything's normal. This is sort of another long cutscene, but there is some strats within the cutscene. The game kind of like gives you the opportunity to run away and to resist, but we actually don't want to do that. Resisting is slow, and running away is also slow. So we're actually going to run at our wife, even though she's clearly a bit aggro at the moment.
A little bit.
She's trying to show you this cool knife she found.
It is a cool knife.
It's a cool knife.
We can look
very
at it
bloody.
Pretty close, yeah. So this kind of plays on the whole VR thing. This game, you'll see a lot of stuff in your face, which is very much a sort of something to get you while you're in VR. It happens quite a lot. Pretty much every character at some point gets right in your face.
Yeah, they definitely played into the element of spooking for VR purposes. A lot of stuff gets in your face, and Niddle's not exaggerating when he says a lot of stuff gets in our face. A lot of stuff gets real close to our face. You'll find that out in about 10 minutes.
It's
we get really close to some stuff.
So this strat here, it doesn't look like Zeke is doing much, but it's actually really easy to mess this up and waste a lot of precious seconds. So he's standing in a specific spot to get Mia to wake up. Perfect, dude. To get Mia to wake up right on time. It's sort of a trap because it looks really easy. It looks like he barely moved, but he actually set himself up perfectly. Now he's going to pick up the axe, he's going to run at Mia, and he's going to crouch while swinging and immediately turn around. And he did enough damage in that one swing to get her into the next phase where she was basically ready to die. And by turning around, he instantly gets picked up by her and goes into the next animation. So now he's going to run down the hallway and wait a few seconds for the phone to ring. And
this is what you were telling me earlier, right? With the FPS trickery.
Yeah, exactly. It plays a part at Nia as well. The spinning is not as much as like what we talked about earlier with the spin, and we'll touch on that in a moment. There's a bit of information that goes into that, but similar to Resident Evil 2 Remake, bladed hits, like if you're familiar with that game, the knife is really strong because the more FPS you have, the more active hitboxes you're getting as you swing, which is why the game caps its FPS categories. In this game, we kind of have that with the axe and with the saw. The axe is the best example of it because we can quite literally one-shot Mia if we're over a certain FPS threshold, which is about 180. It affects the saw because it affects its rotations per second in a similar manner. God, that was awful. But FPS does affect our damage a bit in that regard.
Yeah. Basically, in most scenarios, other than like 2, which is very strange, more FPS equals better. So now we got the fuse. We're gonna slap the fuse in there and run into our wife again.
This seems like a good time for us to mention, because you're about to be very confused if you've played this game before. You're about to be like, I know what happens next. Ethan gets thrown onto the ground. He gets a screwdriver impaled right into the hand. Right? Wrong. We're actually playing on the Sarah D version of the game, which is called basically just the censored Japanese version of the game released in their region because of censorship laws. We, as speedrunners, found a way to waste more money and get 23.5 seconds of time save by buying this version. As you see, we actually got impaled in the wrist. Now, this part alone is not really going to save any time. You'll notice the screen goes black when Ethan is meant to lose his hand because they don't like dismemberment. What this does for us is it saves us a huge chunk of time at the Jack 2 boss fight, as well as picking up the snake key later in the game, as we don't play through the animations of the gore and grotesqueness of shoving our hand down the cop's throat or waiting for Jack to blow himself up in half. So it looks a little weird. There's going to be moments where it doesn't make any sense. Like this texture on his arm, the animations makes no sense. It's kind of like they kind of threw it on. I was like, oh yeah, we have to release the censored version, guys, quickly. Put the textures back on his hand or something, and that's basically what happened.
Yeah, you could sort of tell that the devs would have rather had it uncensored, because later on during the dinner cutscene, there's a part where somebody's hand gets chopped off, and it doesn't quite get chopped off, but the animation that plays out is a bit it's sort of halfway between. So now we're about to do the Mia 2 fight. This fight is incredibly optimized. It's pretty tight in terms of timing and positioning. You're gonna see Zeke line up, he's gonna crouch and go for a swing, perfect. And you can kind of hear it. He gets a very chunky, as I like to call it, multi-hit, where you can hear the axe connect like a good, 4 or 5 times. And that does enough damage for her to go down in exactly 1 hit. If that doesn't work, the situation either can go completely south or be recovered. You can get a 2-hit on her, which is pretty common. When I was first learning the game, that was what I often got. Or she can run off in an opposite direction, and then the fight goes completely out of control. But now we're being
very strange.
Welcome to the family, son.
Yeah, we get kicked in the head.
I'm sure
really hard.
This isn't significant in any way. This isn't going to matter later on.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
This doesn't matter. Yeah. Nothing at all happened right now at all. By the way,
yeah, no, definitely not going to be important in Village, right?
Yeah, if you haven't played, you should play Village, and you'll understand why this part is very significant in the entire franchise. Very important. But yeah, like Niddle said, Mia has 2,000 health, and we're at DA 2. So I'll explain DA briefly. It doesn't really impact on New Game Plus, but DA is difficulty adjustment. You'll know it matters for this game and like knife only. You'll notice it in the run after us in Village. It does play a very big part there. But basically, the worse you play in Resident Evil games, the easier they're going to become. And the better you play, the harder they become, up to a limit depending on which difficulty you selected. So it kind of affects your damage and how much stuff damages you. The reason I'm saying this is that DA 3, which is the max for easy, which is what we were at in Guest House, we're able to hit Mia once, and the axe is going to hit for like 200 damage or 150 damage per hit. And when the FPS is so high, we'll swing right through her and hit like 20 times, and she just dies. But if you mess it up and hit her like half the times, she's gonna like phase a little bit, and she'll just dart off. Yeah. And it's like very frustrating. She also has a one-shot mechanic. It's like not fun to play against at all.
Yeah. So this is the infamous dinner cutscene. You may have noticed Lucas's hand is still attached, kind of.
It looks a little like twisted.
Yeah, like it's weird because you see his hand like move around as it's getting chopped off, but then it kind of just hangs out, which is
there's no animations. It's literally they just took the model of the hand and put it back on.
Yeah.
Look at it. It's not even moving at all. Like, in case you're wondering, Ethan does not get stabbed in the mouth here. He gets stabbed in the cheek.
That's way better.
Yeah, it is, right? It actually is. The sound that you're hearing and you think it's in the mouth, you're gonna lose your mind, bro. Like, honestly. But it's actually in his cheek. Now we're gonna come up on probably the hardest part on an optimized level of the game, in my opinion, to do consistently, which is hallway. So I'm gonna Niddle take over on what goes down here. So I'm gonna want to pay attention to
Good luck. So this is Jack hallway. This is a really complicated section. We have to come down this hallway and grab a key, but Jack is standing in the way. And we need Jack to be standing in a very specific spot to set us up for the next trick. So what we want to happen is you're going to see Zeke hang along this wall as tight as he can, and he's going to start walking just for a second. Nice. Okay, sorry, that went really fast. He's going to start walking just for a second, and then he's going to grab the key.
I knew he was going to do that too.
And he's going to do a little spin move to get around Jack, and then he's going to inspect the door real quick and pass by Jack. Oh my god, at least you got the wall skip. Then he's going to come back through the hallway, turn around at a specific spot in the wall, and that's going to trigger the Jack wall break animation. So Jack's going to pop through the wall, which allows us easy access to the crawl space. That was a really good recovery, dude. I got really nervous.
I don't know how I managed to recover that. Like, when I saw him enter that animation of touching his head, I'm like, I'm going to get grabbed. He always grabs after that animation, so it's like brutal. And now cheater skip.
Are you going to get it?
Cheater skip?
Nice, very nice. Okay, so let's review a little bit. So Jack has a very specific set of animations that he can do in that hallway section. It's actually the same set of animations that he can do in the Jack 2 fight. It's literally identical. What we want Jack to do optimally is go for the grab and miss. That puts him in a good position for Zeke to do a loop around him after grabbing the key. If Jack swings, that is recoverable. The only thing that's not recoverable is if he grabs us and actually successfully gets the grab. After that, he has to run to the far end of the hallway so he can inspect that door. That's to hit a trigger point for the game, which allows our good friend, what's his name?
Deputy David Anderson.
Deputy David Anderson. That allows our good friend Deputy David Anderson to spawn in quicker. So Zeke makes his way back up the hallway, and once he reaches the halfway point, as long as Jack is behind the wall, Zeke can turn around, which triggers the wall break animation. That allows him to go into the crawl space earlier, and it also opens up a little shortcut for later, and it also makes the out-of-bounds section a little bit more consistent to set up. But yeah, that was really well executed. That went a little bit sideways, but the recovery was excellent because that section, it's a nightmare section. It's borderline RNG, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say we can respectfully say it's borderline RNG. There's a lot of consistency issues, like Niddle said, and it's like hard because it's like right after the 15 minutes of guest house, and then you're forced into a reset point. And then with cheater skip, we mentioned a second ago. You might be wondering what that is. Basically, we were able to trigger the phone call without leaving the room, which we were supposed to do. The reason this happens is we're playing at a high FPS, and when we're coming out of that hole, if you're over 300 or 350, the game switches Ethan from being under in the tunnel map. He goes up to the outside terrace, which the game then thinks he's outside, and then the phone call triggers. And we're able to take the phone call without having to leave the room, which is pretty nice.
Yeah. And also, he stopped at the item box to grab all the New Game Plus items, which includes infinite ammo and the Albert and the circular saw. And the walking shoes, which is a bit minor. And now, just a little off the top for my good buddy, Deputy.
Yeah, just a little bit. Just a little off the top. No, Jack, it's a little too much. That's too much.
This is the Jack 1 fight. You're gonna see Zeke shoot Jack 3 times and then make his way to the back of this car. That's gonna bait Jack to breaking down the shelf. Perfect. Now he's gonna shoot him 2 times to stagger him closer to the door faster. And then he's gonna stand here and delete some stuff out of his inventory and line up for a beautiful headshot. Oh my gosh, it's almost like he's using an aimbot or something.
It's almost like a don't tell them. Oh my god, the charade is up.
This is a good time to mention we can do inventory management basically at any downtime that we have. This game has a beautifully made inventory, better than perhaps any game ever. Sorry, I'm biased.
True.
So where we leave our cursor in the inventory is where it'll stay. So you can basically set yourself up for the next item that's going to appear in your inventory, and stuff appears sequentially as you pick it up. So if you know the next item that you're going to pick up, you can set yourself up so that way you can instantly interact with whatever door it might be. And now Jack is going to have a little taste, and we're good.
Little taste, just a little taste. You gotta take a sip, you know.
Zeke's gonna come up here. He's gonna flip the placard around and interact with a bolt on the back of it. This actually makes it so that way the bolt animation plays out even after you've stopped looking at it. Nice fast drop. This basically saves a bit of time instead of waiting for it to go. So we can move the shelf while we're waiting for another item to do its thing. That comes up maybe like one other time throughout the run. And then the fast drop, as Zeke was falling off that ledge, he sort of looked and moved and strafed in a specific way to speed up the drop animation. He's going to run over there, pick up the pendulum. He does a quick turn, not a literal quick turn, but he turns quickly after interacting because it'll let you pick that up while you're walking away, which is sort of weird. He's going to close the door behind him.
It's the only item that really does that, too.
Yeah, it's weird because I thought for a while the blue key card did it, but it's totally placebo. It does not.
Yeah, all right. I'm back into focus mode, Diddle, here on this one.
Here we go. Okay, so this is the beginning of the out of bounds. This is a really tech-heavy section. So Jack is going to pop out at us after we've grabbed our statue. Zeke's going to avoid touching the door, of course, and he's going to shoot him in the leg to stagger him while he makes his way around. Now, everything he does from this point forward is extremely important. He's going to make his way into the living room, he's going to do 2 shots, and then he's going to interact with the clock. He's going to grab this next dog head and reload while he makes his way back through the kitchen. Nice. I think Zeke aggroed Jack. So he needs Jack to be behind him close enough, and he's good. And these 2 extra shots are just to get Jack's attention and kind of manipulate his AI. So Zeke's going to run over here, solve this puzzle. If Jack is anywhere near this room, you cannot solve this puzzle. So it's really important that we do this before Jack pops through this door. So the next part that's going to happen is Zeke is going to come over here, take a few shots. Jack pops through the door just on time, and he's going to head up the stairs. Now, Zeke is going to stay to the left side and shoot Jack in the leg while he squeezes through. And he's going to line himself up with this banister. Jack is going to grab him, turn him around, and boom, we are out of bounds. That was really well done, dude.
That's so funny.
I got really spooked when like Jack's voice lines are like a heavy indicator where he's at.
Yeah.
And his second one came very late in the hall, and I thought he was going to get caught behind, and I think it's real bad real fast.
Yeah. So while we're out of bounds, Zeke is following a really specific line to not load in the incorrect area. This is a trick you can actually learn and try at home. It's a lot of fun to play around with. It's really important that you only load in the areas that we're going to. The out of bounds route has actually undergone a lot of changes since it was found. I think it was only 2 weeks into the game's release that the out of bounds was actually found, but it wasn't until like a year, almost a year and a half later, that it was actually implemented into a world record run. So Zeke grabbed a key, he's gonna blast some molded and head on over to the Jack 2 fight. Also,
don't say bye to Jack. He's coming right back.
Just to address, Zeke swapped his ammo type. Since we have the infinite ammo as a result of the New Game Plus items, we get to use the enhanced ammo, which does more damage, which in most situations is what we want. Good luck on Jack 2. So Zeke is going to grab this dog head, which triggers the beginning of the Jack 2 fight. The first thing he's going to want to do once Ethan gets up is he's going to look up and aim for the top of Jack's head and get a perfect headshot on him. And while he's sawing, he's going to switch over to a saw. He's going to push Jack backwards, which makes him instantly turn around and tear open that fence. Zeke's going to grab this chainsaw, and as soon as Jack comes out of this animation, he's going to pop him in the head again and immediately saw him in a specific spot to get the quick kill on Jack 2.
That felt like really frame perfect on that second shot.
That was really nice. So Jack has iframes like all over the place. Iframes are a big thing in this game. And the reason we have to wait between those shots, and it's really important that you kind of wait until a specific voice line, is because otherwise your shots will do nothing. He won't stagger. He'll take damage, but it doesn't really matter at that point because he's not doing the right animation. So that was a really good Jack 2 fight. Nicely done.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about that. I mean, one thing about Jack 2 is we've done a lot in the last like 2 years of learning about that fight. New Game Plus has had that strat forever. It's kind of cut and dry. There's not much to change. But Knife Only and New Game, we did a lot of research, and I can confidently say that fight makes no sense. There's so much that goes on in that fight on like the other categories, and there's just so much on a technical level that's actually happening that you can't really see. Like, for example, Jack has 3 separate health pools during that fight, and they all matter. Like, they all matter. The one that kills Jack is the type 2, which is the exposed weak spot, but he has one which is the down version, whereas like doing enough damage to Jack will knock him to the ground to expose that weak spot. But then there's a third one for some reason, and this third one is like we don't know why it exists. It's just like, it really only exists to make the game hard. Because it, like, on New Game and on Knife Only, that third one can, like, jeopardize the fight because of how it, like, makes Jack stagger when you break it. It's really stupid. But on New Game Plus, we don't have to worry about any of that. We just kind of shoot him with the gun and then put the saw in his face and we got him.
That circular saw is a blessing. So there's going to be a thing that's going to come up a couple times. You may have noticed on that door that Zeke stood as far away as he basically could from it. And you might be thinking in a speedrun you'd want to stand as close as you could to an object that you were interacting with so you could like move through it. But doors are a bit weird in this game, and some of the doors will actually open faster if you're like just out of range and you don't start moving until the very second that you can interact with the door. There's a really big one, or I say big one, it's like 1 second. Coming up after the snake key, but it's just something to keep in mind. If you see any door interaction shenanigans, that's what's going on.
Yeah, I do appreciate Niddle saying they're a little weird, when in reality they're so incredibly strange it doesn't make any sense. Like, they do not behave like normal doors. Like, I've used a door or two in my life. They do not behave like these doors. Like, these doors like are so whack. And the door he's referring to later is the snake key door, and it doesn't make sense, man. Like, it just doesn't. Like, the door open, we stand like, we have to do like crazy like geometry to figure out where we're gonna stand and angle to that door and open it fast, because Ethan just can't hang, I guess, with being close to doors.
Yeah. So Zeke's gonna do a very specific pattern here. I call it a paradiddle. Shout out to any drummers. He's going to do basically a set pattern of shots into those nests. And the reason he switches weapons is because the Albert actually has like kind of this long firing animation. And if you switch weapons, you can get a shot off in between what would normally be that firing animation. And now he's meeting Marge. So this is another FPS manipulation section. He's going to set his FPS to 30 and saw the door, and that allows him to instantly kill the spiders and also open the door and move through it. Basically, there's no downtime between that animation of Ethan getting the spiders off him and getting through that door. Now he's going to solve the spider statue, which I know plagues him with difficulty sometimes.
See, this guy says that this is the easiest puzzle, but I'll have you know I've lost records to this puzzle and only this puzzle. And I do not know why. Like, I'll look at Niddle running it, right? And he has it parsed. He doesn't, it's not even lined up. It's like he did it during an earthquake. It's not lined up at all. And he gets it. The game's like, no problem, bro. Like, sure, man. I'll do it. It's lined up. Maybe 1 pixel off. The game's not having it. Just says no. And you have to wait. If you fail puzzles, you have to wait. It forces you to. Like, it's Niddle's lying. Like, he paid off Capcom, man. Like, it's ridiculous how crazy he gets it for free.
Yeah, so those shadow puzzles, we all follow like sort of a specific mouse movement or keyboard movement, because you can use both the mouse and the keyboard to rotate those shadow puzzles. But the goal is to sort of line it up as quickly as you can, but you have kind of like a 1 second buffer where it won't take any inputs anyway. So like that, you want to optimally just get it within that buffer zone, and it's as optimal as it can be. And it's not easy. It's kind of hard to like whip the mouse in the right direction and remember which direction works, you know.
Okay.
So now we're gonna make our way back through. There's this nest here that still can use some bullets. So Zeke will provide, and it's gone. And now we're gonna run past Marge. You're gonna see Zeke do a quick. Oh, well, usually what Zeke would do is he does a quick crouch there, and it's super fast, like a micro crouch. And if you do it just right, Marge will accept this offering, and she will not send any flies after you. Unfortunately, Marge was feeling exceptionally greedy, and she did not accept the offering of micro crouch.
Yeah, I didn't do it. I didn't teabag correctly enough, it appears. Like, Marge played Halo 2 back in her day, and she said that was the pathetic excuse of what I tried to do. So I get it. I totally get it. It was bad. My bad. The reason that works is Marge gets a little bit extra blind when you're not moving, we realized. And there's a window of time that you have to get past her. And if you crouch right in front of her, you kind of play into that blindness a bit. Literally, Marge is blind. And you get to move around her. I have about a 98% success rate, but however, because I am running this for you guys, it's about a 0% success chance.
Yeah. So this is the March 1 fight, and it's over. Yeah. Basically, 1 Albert and 3 G17 using the enhanced ammo, and that fight is pretty trivial. It's actually a mechanically interesting fight because it's actually on a timer, and depending on how good or bad you've been playing the game, like if you've been dying a lot or something, that fight can actually last less time. You know, you could just sit in the hole, and the fight will eventually end. And it's either 2 minutes or 5 minutes.
When I played this game, this was actually like one of the worst sections for me because like I hate spiders so much.
Oh yeah.
If you have any sort of arachnophobia or phobia of bugs, centipedes, anything, this section is brutal. But you know, you get a little desensitized around the 4th or 5,000th playthrough.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
maybe it's not as bad as it once was when I first played.
Yeah. So coming up is a very interesting skip called Lantern Skip. It was found by 2 very, very talented runners, Trans and Ross Rossi, I think. And it involves basically looking up to hit a trigger point. The game wants you to go look at a lantern upstairs, but it's super slow. So we're just going to look at the ceiling where the lantern was, and that actually removes the boards at the bottom of that pit. The next step is falling into the pit at the exact right position. So Zeke does a quick little lineup, and then he falls in, and that makes Marge spawn, and she crawls down the hole. This is a section where if you do that skip, like any bit wrong, you can very easily soft lock yourself where you get to the next section, and Marge just doesn't spawn. But that was a perfect lantern skip, my dude.
Yep. Didn't look at the ceiling like some runners do. I'm not going to name names, but there are some runners who look at the ceiling and walk off like a psychopath.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. So this is March 2. Zeke's going to open up with a few shots to her face. He's going to saw her in the face, and then he's going to end with a shot and turn around. He's going to wait a few seconds. She's going to say a voice line. He turns around, pops her in the face again. He starts sawing her. This is not exactly the spot that we want her to be in, but Zeke is just going to very politely push her down the stairs. And
her body was was intangible.
Oh my gosh. All right. So this fight is a little bit wonky. Marge has some very interesting behavior here. When she starts crawling towards a window or for an escape, she's actually invincible. She has iframes. So despite the fact that she probably has like 1 HP, like she's literally 1 shot from death, she just... And now she's doing a disappearing.
I can't hear her, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll let you...
Yeah, welcome to my casual playthrough, everybody. I hope you really enjoy this. Is she up here?
I think she is.
I think I just hit her.
So where she spawns is random after she crawls away.
All right. She's trying to... She will not stop running away from me, too.
Yeah.
Where?
Oh, she's...
Jesus. Dude,
yeah,
like...
There you go. Yeah, so like I said, she was 1 hit away from death, which is... That's the trolliest part about Marge 2. Once she starts walking towards an escape, she is essentially invincible, despite what her health pool is at. So that wasn't exactly how that's supposed to go, but it was a good example.
Not exactly the plan.
A good example of how Marge's behavior can be kind of toxic sometimes.
Dude, she I'm not gonna lie, it's not that hard to find her after she's like gone. Like it's honestly, not that hard to find her.
I should have been quiet so that you could have heard the audio.
No, it's like not even your fault because I was just like I could hear her but I couldn't, and then I found her and then she left. Like, she left again. She's like, oh, well, I just can't hang out here. I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Goes without saying, that doesn't usually happen. I promise you, I played this game before. But, yeah, basically, what happened, the issue that I did there was I was sawing her for too long. If you hit Marge when she jumps in the air like that, she will fall out of the sky like a rock. You cannot do that. And that's what happens. And Marge is full of iframes, like completely chock full, and you can't kill her in the air, can't kill her until she's out of the frames on the ground. which sucks because she was really close to the window. So what happened is she came out of iframes into more iframes, and then she disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah, so that whole wiggle animation that she did on the ground, she wasn't supposed to do that, and that's another section of iframes. Basically, any animation where she's not, like, in the middle of attacking Ethan, she's essentially invincible. So now we're making our way to the D-Series arm. This is probably one of the creepiest sections of the game casually, but you're gonna see Zeke kind of just, like, unfazed run through all of it, like, so he's gonna crouch through here, pull off this nice juicy arm.
Aggressive handshake.
Yeah.
Very aggressive handshake.
Which is
we got this arm
fantastic.
that they just have.
Yeah.
I don't know why they have this arm, but they just do.
And he's going to do a retry here. This retry is actually to respawn this guy in his sort of idle animation, because like everything else, every molded has iframes while they're spawning in. So they're actually invincible up until like, you know, few frames after they've spawned in. So we just kind of skip that and make our way out of there. No problem. Easy peasy.
Yeah, easy peasy. I feel like Marge did that because I went out of my way to like talk trash about Cat's Lantern Skip.
I know, right?
And I didn't have to do it, but I did it, and Marge punished me for it.
Yeah.
So you know, that's fine. No,
Big shout-outs to
yeah,
Cat
be
Lantern.
like that. Yeah, shout-outs for the unintentional sabotaging of my run.
Spirit sabotage. So
Yeah.
Ethan is about to put on his fast running shoes. For some reason, when you get here, he reverts to like full outdoor sprint speed, and it's kind of a nice benefit. It'd be nice if he could actually run like this the whole run, but Zeke's gonna run over here and touch this trailer. This is to trigger a phone call happening, because the game wants you to go into the trailer and look at some stuff, but the hitbox for the trailer kind of extends outside of it, so you don't need to actually enter the trailer. As long as you touch the corner of it, it thinks that you've gone inside and looked at what you need to. And now we're gonna make our way back through to the Jack 2 section. This game has some really kind of cool backtracking and going back to sections that you've already completed, and Grandma's here this time, and
Grandma.
I would say like we're in sort of the cleanup section of main house before we move on to the next section formally. There's a little,
Yeah, there's not much that really goes on here.
yeah, there's a little 30 FPS here to squeeze past this dude that bursts through the wall, just get real slippery and phase completely through him. And Zeke's gonna pick up the snake key and head over to the snake key door. This is the door that we were talking about earlier, where he's going to stand a specific length away from the door and wait until just the right second before starting to move towards it. Normally, if you open that door in a casual playthrough, or you know, if you're me and you're bad and can't get the door, the door takes forever to open, and Ethan kind of just pushes into it for a good like 5 seconds. So it's normally a very slow door to open.
Yeah,
and
that is true.
Yeah, and now we're heading
The door
back.
loses like 2 seconds or something if you fail it. It's like really, really bad.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how simple stuff like doors in this game can be like, you know, a run breaker. I know for Zeke is like, you know, top of the top level runner, cream of the crop, if you will. And so he, you know, something like a 2 or 3 second time loss is sort of a reset on a PB grind. So, you know, looking at something as simple as a door and saying like, oh well, that's just 1 second if the door opens slow. For Zeke, that's the difference between world record and a failed run, which is crazy for a first-person shooter game to think that the routing is this tight, you know.
Yeah, especially considering the length of the game just in general. The routing
Yeah.
and the optimization is like pretty extreme.
Absolutely. So that's a really
Very
hard
intense.
shadow puzzle. That's genuinely the hardest shadow puzzle in the game, and it's also the last one that we have to do in the run. So
Yeah, I politely disagree, Niddle. I would think it's the spider puzzle. I think we talked about this earlier.
the spider
The
puzzle.
spider puzzle
Listen,
is the hardest
it
puzzle of the
takes-
game. Do not listen to the slander.
I've put the Albert in for the spider puzzle, and it takes it. Listen, it's fine.
That's not fine.
So at some point, I guess during the Lucas TV section, we should talk about this new double bind crouch strat that you've been using throughout the whole run.
Yeah.
So there's some new movement tech that was recently discovered, and it's a bit of a doozy, technically. It is a good point to also mention that this was the first sort of RE engine game that Capcom had developed, and as a result, in certain places it's kind of put together with, like, you know, popsicle sticks and bubblegum. But it is still an amazing game. I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to down talk the game. So
yeah, the game definitely has some very strange elements to it, and it was designed in a way that doesn't really much make sense, and especially with like the double binding tech that Niddle is referring to. Essentially, what it is when you're sprinting in Resident Evil 7 and you pick up an item that has an item confirmation. An item confirmation is basically a item that, like, you grab it and the game's like, yeah, but are you sure? And then you hit yes, and then you basically take the item. I don't know why those exist, but basically that's what it is. But when you do that while you're sprinting as Ethan, you'll stop. You'll take a full stop after. It's about half a second of time. Now, up until about 2 weeks ago, we thought that this was just like the way it's gonna be. The only way to bypass it is if you're walking or you're stopped. If you're walking or stopped, you can pick it up and you can just sprint instantly. But it doesn't make sense to stop or walk or crouch before picking up an item. However, it was found out that if you bind crouch to 2 different buttons and you use them at the same time, Ethan will leave sprint. You can't be holding shift while you do this. He'll come out of sprint and just start walking. Because sprint is a toggle, it's not like a hold. You can't just like let go of sprint, which I wish you could do, it'd be way easier. But you basically just start walking and then you pick up the item and then you sprint again. It added like a layer, an extra layer of difficulty to picking up items and moving fast out of them. That is very uncomfortable because you have to crouch you have to release shift, hit the keybinds, grab the item, mash the confirmation so you immediately can move after, and then press shift again.
Yeah.
It's not fun, but it's you know, it is what it is. This is my first like main game run using it, like actually with live split uppings. They do have live split upping for like queues and timers, and it hits a bunch of golds everywhere. It's very interesting that it works in that way.
Yeah, and despite this game having come out in 2017, that was recently discovered. It's kind of amazing. Like this game still sees optimizations that affect sort of the whole run. Like, you know, this is a strat that changes most. There's like a good 8 to 10 examples of it being used. So it's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, and now we have the boom room.
The boom room.
A bunch of bombs.
Yeah. So Ethan is a bit of a tank. He can block all these bombs and just run through, but Zeke's gonna shoot them because it's faster. So Zeke's gonna run through and shoot all these bombs. That door bomb is probably the hardest one in there. You have to kind of like angle yourself through the door correctly in such a way that you don't even really see the bomb. And let's see if he goes for the super swag.
No shot. I'm not doing that.
I thought you were gonna do it.
There's no way on earth I'm going for that shot. Not in a. I haven't even done it in a run. And that shot. There's 2 bombs on that door, right? The crisscross applesauce. You know.
Yeah.
There's one at the left side, hiding just behind the corner. You could save 1 second and risk like 50 million if you take that angle very wide and try to like flick your shot at it.
Yeah. It's basically you look left for 1 frame and then you look back to the right and you sort of make your way through. It's you know, it's the unicorn. It's almost not worth going for. So we're gonna do a little retry here. This just opens the door faster, and lets us get through just a touch faster. And Zeke's gonna head through here and shoot another bomb right there. Wow, you shot that early, dude.
Yes. Quick draw McGraw, you know, that's what they call it.
So there's a few molded that are going to spawn. This is the Lucas barn section. So as you may have seen, Lucas basically, we fall into one of his traps. He fancies himself kind of like a jigsaw type situation. He has a lot of TVs and speakers, so he set up all these tricky traps for us. And so far, Ethan has just been sort of ignoring all of them. But we're about to grab a battery, and right there, by the way, he did that quick crouch strat to pick that up faster, which allowed him to sort of run away without having to stop after picking it up. So now he's going to line himself up. He's going to go for 9 shots on this molded. And in order to do that, you have to sort of cancel your reload animation, which is why you're going to see him blocking between these reloads. And then as soon as the elevator door opens, He's going to go for one leg shot. Sometimes it takes two. Sometimes
it's three.
Sometimes you hit
miss the first one.
The pinky toe, yeah, right. And he's down, and it's just like that. That guy is actually sort of weird because much like Jack 3, he has like multiple hitboxes, like a different health pool for each limb. So we kind of use that to like get his head hitbox as low as we can, and then we go for the leg shot because it's actually a faster death animation for him to explode from the leg shot. And then on top of that, you have a timer until you can press the button to operate the elevator. So it's kind of a weirdly scripted section that we sort of we make the most of our window of time to make it optimal.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm definitely using an aimbot, by the way. You can tell by the way that I missed.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, the aimbot that GDQ provided me to use, it's not working very well, Amy. I gotta say, this thing kind of sucks, man. And I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry. I'm letting you
missed
down.
a lot. Yeah, it's missed a lot today, and I gotta say, I'm dissatisfied. You're really making me look bad here.
I'm sorry. I'll do better next time.
That's all right. So I like to see now. Spicy's gonna get the updated version 2.0 of the aimbot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So now we're in the puzzle section, which is actually, it's a really cool section of the game. Normally you have to watch a birthday tape. By the way, that is the hag from Resident Evil Village on the wall there. I just want everybody to know that water stain is 100% foreshadowing for Resident Evil Village. It was in RE7, just saying.
Jill saw it first.
Yeah.
I thought it was water. I didn't think it was a shadow.
It's like
an actual like.
Yeah, there's like a
person on the
stain.
wall.
Yeah, and it's of the hag, or Miranda.
Can't even get the pun off.
Yeah.
Failed.
Wait, I missed it. Anyway.
Yeah, I missed the button.
No, it's not foreshadowing because it's not a shadow, right?
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
I'm clapping
All right.
internally.
Thank you.
So we're gonna come through this puzzle section. It's a breeze. Lucas has all these tricky traps. If we didn't casually, if you didn't watch the videotape, you may have gotten to this section and gotten yourself blowed up, or perhaps caught it on fire. But Zeke's too
I don't
good
think
for
that's
that.
how those words work, man. I think there might have been a mispronunciation there. I don't know.
But anyway, we grab the candle, we light it, we make it through the water, and we put it on the cake, and we get our prize, which is an explosion. So Lucas is very upset that we did not get exploded. So he's gonna drop an extra bomb, and we're gonna just stick it through this convenient hole in the wall. This bomb is actually on a weird timer, where the timer actually goes down faster once it's been put through the wall. So it's imperative to your speed run that you put it through the wall as fast as you can. You know, you can joke around and hold it for a little while if you want, but it's not particularly fast. And because he's standing so close to that wall, he can run through that section without Ethan having to cough. Normally, if you walk through that section, Ethan will do a little coughing animation and he slows to a walk, but slow, we don't like that. And we're gonna grab the D-Series head and all of our stuff from the item box, and we're on our way to Jack 3.
And man, Jack 3 has been through some hoops. Man, we used to love Jack 3 back in the day. He was very simple, very easy to shoot the eyes, forehead. Like, it's literally the whole thing. It's just kill the eyes.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a small story. When a young 3 years ago, Captain Ezekiel got his very first Resident Evil 7 NG Plus World record. However, this was preceded by the original record being taken because of something that we didn't really know why it happened, but shout outs to Horror does speedruns, fantastic runner, he's an SM64 runner now, where he got the record by 5 seconds because he managed to kill Jack 5 seconds faster than anyone else. And we're like, why did that happen? So, well, Jack skipped his death animation. And that's kind of cool, right? You like say you're pogging out, like damn, you could skip that animation. That's got to be sick. How do you do that? We had no idea. 3 years, didn't know. And then eventually we found out. And I would love to admit that I really wish we had never found out how it works, because now it introduces this kind of toxic strat that we have to do. That it kind of involves rolling the dice on 30 FPS, killing an eye at the earliest possible frame. So I'll let Niddle explain the specifics of what's going to go down, but I'll just say, for the record, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's FPS based. Oh no.
So yeah. So basically, what's going to happen here is we're going to free Zoe, and Zeke's going to run down here and touch the item box to start the Jack 3 fight. When the Jack 3 fight starts, Zeke's going to be aiming for the eyes, but they have a lot of eye frames. Not a joke. They literally do have a ton of eye frames. Basically, you can damage them as much as you want during any animation that Jack is doing if he's mid-animation, and they won't pop. They won't pop until he's in a neutral animation. You're gonna see him dumping damage into one specific eye. It's gonna be his lower chest eye on I guess his left side, or Zeke's right side. And the whole reason he's dumping damage into that without popping it is to set himself up for the quick kill. The quick kill is extremely precise. It's even if you do get the setup right, it's still really hard to get. So he's going to shoot him in the face, pop the lower eye, which dies in one shot. He's going to drop down and saw the eye on his right side chest. He's going to wait until those eye frames end so he can pop the tail eye. And here again, he's just kind of waiting because Jack's eye can't pop anyway. He's going to saw him in the face until that eye pops. Here he goes. He's putting damage into the lower chest eye to set himself up. There's another shot, and he's going to saw a little bit. Just getting as much damage as you can in. You basically want it at 1 HP. Now he's going to drop to 30 FPS. This is to give him as many frames as possible of a window, and he got it.
Easy.
Huge, dude.
Wow.
Huge. So basically, instead of having this whole death animation, Jack immediately swims away, and it begins the next part of the phase. It's a really hard strat. Like, in practice, even knowing exactly what you have to do, it's kind of a coin flip. It's a 50-50. Well done, dude. Doing that in a marathon is really tough.
Yeah, my track record for being able to do that strat in marathons is surprisingly high. But in PB paces, don't be confused, it never happens.
Maybe all of your PB pace, all of your PB attempts need to be on marathons from now on, dude.
Yeah, true. Actually, that reminds me of something, I'm glad you brought that up. So, I also run the other categories in this game. New game, knife only, that fun stuff. I was doing a marathon not long ago, maybe a couple years ago actually, but it sticks in my mind because of the PTSD it gave me. I was doing a new game run, and I was actually on world record pace right here. And I was confidently going to world record.
On a
but there was an
marathon,
incentive. Yeah, on a marathon, there was an incentive where if people donated and you got to choose who I saved, Zoe or Mia. Now, you might think, well, what does that change? You're just choosing a different waifu to save. Well, that's actually not the case. When you save Mia, which is what we do in the speedrun, it is a minute faster. If you save Zoe, you have to fight Mia, and it is a minute slower. Now, the only way I was losing that world record run is if Zoe got voted for it. Now, Niddle, remind me, I'm spacing just a little bit, as I'm with my age, right? What happened? I can't remember. Did somebody donate? Zoe, right before here?
There may have been a very generous donation at the last second by somebody.
Who would have done that?
Right.
Probably
Yeah.
just nobody, right?
Probably
just
nobody. Probably nobody. Definitely wasn't
that
me.
Guy?
Absolutely was not me. 100%.
Oh.
It wouldn't.
It was him, by
me?
the way.
Who? Me? Never. Never in
It
my
was
life.
definitely him. 100% Niddle sabotaged a world record marathon run.
It was for charity. Okay, come on.
It was for
man.
charity.
Give me a break.
You can tell a speedrunner, like, hey man, I know you're about to get record on this.
I was
marathon,
not
but,
expecting
hey,
the
it's for
pace.
charity.
What do you want me to do?
Just be less generous, man. We've been over this.
So we're on the boat now. We have saved our wife, and we're heading away. Unfortunately, we didn't have a cure to save Zoe because we had used the cure on Jack. And this begins the boat cutscene. Little dev fun fact: at one point, they had actually considered making the Jack 3 boss fight like a boat boss fight, kind of like the one that they have in Resident Evil 4. But they scrapped that idea, probably because it was a little ambitious. And I think ultimately the Jack 3 boss fight is probably like one of the best, if not the best, boss fights in the game. It's just a really nice, like, open room, big enemy. How can I possibly defeat this sort of boss fight the first time you have to play against him?
Yeah, he's very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah. But
Big fan.
now we're heading on our way to the ship which some people say is not their favorite section of the game. It's a bit slower paced, and it requires a bit of like puzzle backtracking stuff. But I think that's actually more akin to like the sort of puzzles that you see in Resident Evil 1. So I kind of like it. It's a bit of a change in pace. We have to do some puzzles. We have to go back. We have to get a fuse. We have to do a few things. But there's actually some really interesting tech that goes into it. That without doing that, the ship would be, I don't know. If you did no strats in ship, it would be like a good 30 to 40 seconds slower. I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, that's certainly true.
It
used to be that way.
Yeah. Definitely significant. I would imagine, like, without those strats, it becomes a bit of a walking simulator. But since we have those, it's actually kind of an optimizable, fun section.
Yeah, and I love how he says fun. There's like basically like it's all chill until you get to the point where it's suddenly not chill anymore. It becomes very not chill, and you miss any of the skips. The boat has the most punishing single skip in the game, which is a 20-second time loss, or more than that if you fail it, which is the AIMBOT skip, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But I will mention, for lore's sake, and just so if anyone chat's wondering if I like Mia or Zoe more, I like Zoe more. In case you didn't know this, Mia's a war criminal. I don't understand the hype. Why does everyone love Mia? Like, I love the character, the voice actress, Katie, she's amazing. Mia, she sucks. Like, Mia's evil, quite literally.
So to
evil.
explain, Mia, she worked with the Connections, and she helped to manufacture and transport Evie, which is kind of like this evil bioweapon. So, like, on a scale of things, we were saying, like, Mia is like kind of a less cool Ada. Anyway,
yeah,
heading into ship.
Ada insult a little bit.
Hot take, right? So we're heading into ship. This is kind of like a lore dump section for sure. This is, for the most part, the game has actually been kind of light on lore and letting us wonder, like, what happened to the Bakers? Why is this little girl involved? Like, what is going on? This is where we kind of get to see what happened prior to our wife ending up in Dulvey, Louisiana.
A lot of information gets taught here. Like, you really learn a lot. Like, and I'm not saying just like a lot. Like, it's a lot. Like, they really dump a lot of it into you here to tell you, like, yeah, the Connections, Evelyn, Lucas, everything. Like, every character plays such a massive part, and everything that went down gets just dumped onto you here. And you start seeing these visions of these guys. And you're like, oh, who are these jokers? Hello, reused asset 1 and 2. Like, they basically sit here and they talk, and you basically figure out the whole time that that Evelyn was manufactured and brought here, and it's like kind of interesting. And there's a certain cutscene that I really love that we're going to see later, that kind of gives you a better understanding of the current state of the game. So that'll be fun when we get to it.
Yeah, there was a little quick drop there that he did getting out of that cutscene. It's like sort of a strafe thing that you have to do while also turning your camera. It's a really specific thing to get it, and it doesn't save a ton of time getting it, but we're in a state with this run where it's like even second differences sort of make the big difference. You don't do door boosts though, so.
No, okay, so don't listen to him. If you just erase what he said out of your mind, door boosts are free. But if you close a door that's open behind you, it'll nudge you forward just a little bit, like maybe a fraction of a second faster. Technically is faster. You know what happens when you mess it up? The door closes and you wait. You have to wait to open the door, because you know how we love doors in this game, and they make perfect sense. But if you close the door, you gotta wait a long time to open it again. It's like a cooldown on doors.
It's the old saying. Sometimes you got to break a few eggs. Sometimes you got to close a few doors in your face. Right?
That's bad advice.
I think I've heard that.
I've never heard that one before. But Niddle is right when he says it's down to fractions of seconds. And I remember when we were first optimizing this to get it as low as we possibly could, maybe about a year and a half ago, when like we were really grinding for time. That fast drop is so hard to get consistently, but the one I just got. But there was a moment where I realized the door thing, where it's standing far from doors. This is actually more like 2.5 years ago. God, I'm old. Where I discovered that standing far away from doors, because another runner was doing it at the time who had records. If you just stand away and open the doors, it's faster. It saves like a second. I nearly lost my mind, literally, figuring and hearing out about that, I was like, you just don't stand near the door and you save a second. It changed my life. And we cared so much about that. Okay, all right. I did not inventory at all.
Happens to the best of us. Like the record of or I guess the history of the records for this run have kind of been, it's kind of interesting because there was like a period of time where this run wasn't really being optimized for a solid like year or more. There's kind of like a break between 2017 and 2019 where the game popped off in the beginning for the first year, and then there was kind of a break, and it wasn't until 2019 that the run sort of really started to get optimized. And Zeke's first record, actually, I have it here, was 127.44 on August 29th, 2019. Did you even know that?
That was a good day. That was a good day. That was it. I literally uninstalled immediately after. I was grinding the game for 2 years, like nonstop, and I uninstalled. And then 3 months later, it got broken, and I reinstalled. And now here we are.
Still playing.
Yeah, so I guess like while we're getting lore dumped on, like what brings you back to this game specifically? Because I was looking over your speedrun.com page and looking at all your like past stuff, and this has been a pretty consistent game for you. What about it just brings you back? Is it the tech? Is it what gets discovered?
Yeah, it's actually a very short answer. See, I'm stupid, and I really like writing myself. Sorry, that's a joke. Well, the reason is like I love RE7. It's by far my favorite in the franchise, like for a lot of reasons. It's very close in terms of this and like military terms, just as an actual game. And I'll finish the rest of the question in like 1 second.
Yeah. So this is.
Okay.
Nice. Okay.
There we go. Alan won. Skip. Sorry.
Yes.
But I love the game. There's a good amount of tech. The game is actually like relatively decently paced as opposed to what like the cutscenes and Ethan's movie suite might make you out to believe. After Guest House, it is a very fun speed run. Like it is incredibly fun after Guest House. Like obviously, even Guest House has its moments, and when you're learning it, it's not that bad. But it's just a really fun game that it has a minimal amount of out of bounds tech. I do like a run that with a bit of like depth to it and competitiveness. And this game definitely brings that.
Nice. So Zeke did some stuff.
Got that guy.
In the last,
did a few things
in the last minute. Yeah, there was a few things. So normally when you go to look at that vomit in the kitchen where he turned around real quick, there's a phone call that's supposed to happen. Alan's supposed to talk to us for like 16 seconds. I'm pretty sure it's exactly 16 seconds. And you can't do anything while you're in that phone call. So we kind of like interact with the vomit and then start running out of the room as fast as we can. And once you pass a certain trigger point, you don't get the phone call for whatever reason. The next thing he did was when the molded dropped down in the elevator, he shot him 2 times really quickly to get the fastest possible death animation for him, which is a really hard trick to do. You have to kind of John Wick the shots as he's falling out. You have to get one while he's midair and then the second one on his leg. And now he's setting up for bomb skip, which is also known as Allen 2 skip or double door skip or whatever you want to call it skip. You put a bomb at the door, Alan tries to do another phone call to us, and we're going to blow ourselves through the door, which avoids having to wait for the phone call, allows us to move early, and is just, kind of cool. It's kind of a cool thing to do.
Definitely a very interesting skip, because if you're a nerd like me and you play FPS games, you really just want to reload all the time. You just want to reload constantly, but Capcom thinks it's super funny to put the bomb detonate button as the same thing as the reload button, so I can't reload. But you can empty out your clip and it'll force a reload, which is what I did earlier. But I really want to press R. I don't know why, man. Just
early into learning this, like pressing R is like the biggest mistake you can make because you like round the corner, you're like so close to getting to the right spot. Also nice, perfectly done. And then you press R and you hear the bomb go off down the hallway and you're just like, oh, please.
It's like, and you can't even like if you're like sad, you're like, I should retry and practice that. Guess what? You can't.
Yeah.
If you retry, the bomb's gone, and you just start this part of the game, and you kind of have to walk through, and you're like so sad because you don't have the bomb anymore, and you think about every mistake you made up until that point in your life, like why did I buy the game? Like why do I even have a computer? Like am I legally even allowed to be a speedrunner? It's like you question everything. It's really bad.
Yeah. So now we're gonna interact with the elevator, wait for these dudes to come around the corner. Nice 360 while you watch.
I got stuck. I wanted to do a 360 quick shot, but I got stuck. I don't have enough space on my desk.
How funny would it have been if you went to critical there?
Not very funny, actually. That'd be very sad. Speaking of spinning, we have a little bit of downtime here. We talked about how there was a movement tech recently found that was a first for RE7. We don't have movement tech. Now we do with the movement thing.
Yeah. So speaking of spinning, right? A speedrunner recently found that if you wiggle while you're using any melee, kind of like how Zeke is swinging his saw, the circular saw right there, any melee attack, like the knife animation or anything like that, if you wiggle a bit, you can actually get a few more hits off due to how the hitboxes work with multiple frames, which is kind of related to how Resident Evil 2 Remake works, where they use the knife for a lot of bosses. It also affects this. You can take that to the extreme, and instead of wiggling, you can do like full 360 tornado spins. We were experimenting with setting our DPI to like 36,000 and, getting 1,000 RPMs or whatever. And essentially, if you do that melee attack into any boss, you can effectively one-hit them using virtually any weapon. So this would have theoretically made the knife-only run as fast as the New Game Plus run, maybe with a few exceptions. And it essentially wasn't fun to do or fun to watch. It just wasn't fun. So the mods ultimately ruled that it would not be allowed in runs, which was kind of a relief for me and Zeke, because we were like, oh god, like this is going to invalidate every single run on the leaderboards. Like this would not be a good thing at all. And it's a cheesy sort of exploit strat based on spaghetti code, so it's kind of one of those things where the community collectively got together and decided this is not a thing that we want to see or do. But
no more Beyblading in our speedruns.
Yeah, no Whirlwind Barbarian percent where we spin around the whole time. It's it's insane how absolutely ridiculous it is. And I feel a lot of pride in my heart for being the first person to get a strat banned in Resident Evil 7 speedrunning. Like, we banned it straight up. It's just like one of those things. And I'm gonna paint a picture for you guys. Neil's a good friend of mine, and we go over RE7 stuff all the time. Now imagine this: it's 3 in the morning. It's dark. It's sweaty. I'm not wearing pants or a shirt. I get on my computer and I'm like, oh my god, you can spin. And then I call Niddle on Discord. Now picture this man's eating a block of cheese straight off the block or something. I'm gonna pretend that's what it was. It probably wasn't, but he's eating cheese.
Cheddar, yes.
Yeah, he's eating cheese, and we're sweating, and I'm screen sharing. I'm like, dude, look, you can spin with a knife. It's crazy. Like, that's awesome, but what about the saw? Oh my god. If you spin with the saw, you kill bosses in literally one hit. It was amazing. It was like a Renaissance painting.
Yeah, it was like an amusement park where we were just like going from boss to boss. We were like, all right, let's go try it on Marge. All right, wait, what happens if you do it on like this molded here? And like it was everything just exploded into a blood mist. It was a wonderful, wonderful experiment, but something I would never want to do in a speedrun.
You gotta really put yourself in our shoes. That's why I told you guys to picture it, because if you really gotta get into the atmosphere, it was sweaty. It was very sweaty. There was mist, you could say. It was like, it was a highlight, that's for sure. And then we got banned. So, I mean, I would lie if I said that was the first time that's happened. We did the same thing when we discovered knife only accounts.
It's true. In seriousness, a lot of like theory crafting and late night sweaty gamer sessions go into the tricks that we do. I run a lot of knife only, and Zeke has helped me in major ways with optimizing that category, where the record time has come down like 10 minutes off of what it used to be. So it's just been a lot of fun working with Zeke. He's like the most knowledgeable person on the planet about this game. It's kind of absurd.
Yeah, it's like being very smart about a specific game speedrun is like having a lot of money in a currency that doesn't exist. It's like cool, but it works. Man, it has its moments.
My cryptos one day.
It's like I'm some influencer's cryptocurrency for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back to gameplay. So we're still Mia. This is sort of the second part of the ship, and we're gonna go through and get back to Ethan, because Ethan is down in the basement. He is trapped in a kebab, and we have to free him from his mold kebab. So Zeke's going to run in here. He's going to do a trick called God Door, where he moves just far enough into the room that the door won't close in his face, and that allows him to pick up the corrosive and head out of the room without the door closing. It's really insulting when the door just kind of slams shut in your face, so it's nice that he got that. He's going to run down here, grab the fuse, plant a remote bomb, and blow up this four-legged. It's kind of wacky how the remote bomb will not actually damage you unless you're like right on top of it, I think.
Yeah, it's like you think you're far, and then you just get so confident eventually, and like you're just like, yeah, no problem.
And then you get the stagger. Yeah.
And then you get hit, and you fall down, like you shattered every bone in your body.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It takes so long to stand back up.
So we're gonna come back up here. We're trying to get 2 items that we need to use to repair the elevator. There's gonna be a legless dude kind of just chilling on the ground, and he's not really a problem. We're just gonna interact past him and sort of sidestep him and get through this door. He does a lunge, but it's very ineffective. I sort of feel bad for that guy. He never had a chance.
It's kind of interesting. On knife only, for some reason, he clips under the ground. And I'm not quite sure why, but like you can hear him on knife only as you run by, but he's just not there anymore. Like after you do this and you come back through because we have to walk past him again, he's not there on knife only most of the time because he clips underground and he just vanishes. And
That's weird.
I don't know why. Yeah, Capcom, small indie company, you know that happens.
So we're gonna get the power cable. This large gentleman is gonna vomit into the wall. It doesn't really do all that much. Probably could have done better with that. And we're gonna head back to the elevator so we can fix it, get back down to the basement, and save our husband.
Husbando.
The roles are reversed for this section. This is also a pretty cool lore dump because you go through and you see the laptop where Mia set the initial video that we saw in the opening cutscene. Although it doesn't like sequentially make full sense because she doesn't send the video in the flashback cutscene. You know what I mean? Like in the videotape, she doesn't go to the laptop and send the video. So how did Ethan get it? But whatever, Capcom, it's all good.
How do you get internet?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Big questions, 0 answers. We're gonna head through here, ignore a bunch of dudes. You'll notice a common theme with these like regular 4-legged. Blessed. That's a blessed hit.
This guy's a punk. He's gonna back up.
He's gonna jump back, get back. Yeah, nice. So basically, most molded won't really even attack us. That one guy that did attack him guarantees that the 4-legged is gonna jump back. I'm not really sure why that first guy's animation decides the second guy's animation, but that is indeed how it be. So we're gonna head down here. Of course, we squeezed past the large dude. He's not a problem, and Evie's down here with our husbando. And a little retry just to get into the cutscene faster. And this is kind of like if you play through the game casually, which I strongly recommend. This is a pretty sad cutscene. This is actually kind of a bummer cutscene.
Super sad, man.
Yeah.
Like like Jack Baker is my favorite Resident Evil character at all. Like seriously, like the guy like in this scene is like he basically just sits here and he like levels with you because he's basically been under the control of Evelyn this whole time. And this dude is like so southernly charismatic as like your like old father or young grandfather.
Yeah.
And he's so nice. And he basically explains that like his family was just under the control of Evelyn. They had no choice. There was nothing they could have done. He would have never hurt Ethan if he had the chance. It's especially brutal when you play the Daughters DLC, or Sisters, I can't remember which one it is, but you play that one. Yes, right. And then Jack is like normal during it for most of it. And it's like so sad because you see how like nice he is and how like crazy normal the family is. And this whole cutscene there's a lot going on. There's a lot to digest here. So now on a funny level, he has no body. There's no shadow on the wall. It's just his head and his hands. There's no body. It's just, they literally just were like, do we need to render that in? And like, no. Like, they'll get that in QA. Like, no, they didn't. So no shadow on the wall. And now from a lore perspective, now this is kind of a lot of information to kind of gather. It takes a nerd of 4 years of playing to really understand this, but when we found it out, it was kind of cool. Basically, the reason we're all here, Jack's here, Zoe's here, and Ethan is here, is because we're all alive, and we're all under the control of Evelyn. We're all affected by the mold. All of us are still alive. That includes Jack and Zoe. Jack lives on until not a hero, and Zoe is just still alive. Now, the people who aren't here, Lucas, Marguerite, and Mia. Mia is not under the control of Evelyn anymore because we injected her with the thingamabob, the 5G. Marge isn't here because she is dead. Marge's lantern is here to represent that Marge is dead. Like, she's gone. She's actually gone. And Lucas isn't here because he also is no longer under the control of Evelyn. He hasn't been because the connections hooked him up with some 5G, and he is no longer under the control because they need him to supply information about the mold and about Evelyn to the connections. So that's a lot of that gets explained in Not a Hero, which is a free DLC. So if you aren't persuaded enough already to play the game, you should play it anyways.
Yeah, and also End of Zoe kind of touches on that too, because Jack comes back. He is certainly not dead, and Zoe kind of has a tie-up, and it's actually really great. The DLC expands on the story so well in this game.
It really does. Like, honestly, like, this game plus the free DLC really is great altogether. Absolutely amazing. Big fan.
We are free from our mold kebab, and we regain control of Ethan.
Yeah, now we're gaming again. Now, if we had chosen Zoe at this moment, we would have actually had to have fought Mia Gordon Freeman style with a crowbar.
Yeah. It's kind of
just
like
a reskin of the Mia 2 fight, except worse.
Yeah, it's basically the same as the Mia 2 fight. I call it Mia 3, but the crowbar behaves a little different. I've always wondered if we could somehow cheat in the crowbar. I think it would just take on the same properties as the axe, because the way that Capcom codes their games, like, stuff replaces stuff as you get further in the game. Like, they just kind of swap out the skin, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing happens when you try to cheat in the chainsaw in the game. If you cheat the chainsaw in, it takes on the elements of the circular saw, so you don't really get anything different.
Yep. But yeah, now we're heading back to the house. Ultimately, we're gonna have to take a little shortcut through the salt mines, which conveniently run under the Baker house. It's, you know, Zeke was saying Jack Baker was probably offered a lot of money for his property from this salt mine company and refused, which just shows that he's a down home southern boy.
He's hardcore, man.
Yeah.
That's his farmhouse. His daddy gave it to him, and his daddy gave it to his daddy, man. That's just how it works.
Yeah. So we're gonna come through here. Zeke's gonna grab the grenade launcher. If you're learning this run, or if you're interested in learning this run, early on you might like stop here and grab all the stuff out of the item box. You can do that. It's just, you know, at an optimized level, you want to avoid it. So Zeke's just going to grab the grenade launcher and head on through. And just to endorse this run, I highly recommend this as if you've never ran anything, you're looking for a speed run, something kind of spooky, something kind of first-person shooter. It's a really easy run to learn. You could pick up the route in a weekend, you know, just play through the game a couple times and sort of map it out. And it has an incredibly high skill ceiling, so there's a lot that you can learn and a lot to optimize and get good at. Also, nice job not getting hit by those molded getting into the elevator, dude.
Yeah, if you get hit by those molded when the doors are open, they kind of lunge themselves at you, and they pull themselves into the elevator sometimes, and cannot move the elevator until they're all gone. So that's like a run destroyer, and it's like slept on as being like the worst thing that could ever happen in a run. Yeah, it's so unbelievable.
Molded in the elevator is a phrase that strikes fear into any RE7 runner's hearts. It's like
we can hear it. It's like our ears burn. Like,
yeah. Oh no.
Someone gift this man some subs. He's hurting.
So we're heading on through to the salt mines. There's a few things that we have to do. Gotta push a cart, gotta dodge some dudes. But the important thing is we are on our way to make the necrotoxin using the serum. Is that right? We're making the necrotoxin, or we're making the serum?
Yeah. We're making necrotoxin. We're trying to kill her.
Yeah. So we're gonna head on through here. There's this whole like research post set up here, which is actually you do come back here in Not a Hero, which is the free DLC that they released alongside RE7. And we're gonna make our serum, grab our stuff out of the item box. Now we're gonna make the item box visit. And this is a good time to mention that this entire run, Zeke has been specifically setting up his inventory so that this moment works out correctly. Basically, he's been putting things in a specific order so that he can do that. and just grab everything out of the bottom of his inventory and have all of his weapons be in the right place, and more importantly, have the Albert in an equipped slot and the grenade launcher, pistol, I guess, in an equipped slot. He doesn't have the circular saw out now, but he will switch to having that out for the final fight once we get through the salt mines. So this is the salt mines. It's the final gauntlet. It can be a run destroyer. There is actually an out of bounds that is not run viable here that you can do, like right here where you crouch in this hole and do some shenanigans. But we're just gonna retry and not do the insane out of bounds that doesn't do anything. And we're gonna make our way through. There's gonna be a lot of blasting. There's gonna be some squeezing, and overall, the salt mines will be over before you know it.
Yeah, that retry is the best retry in the entire game because Ethan gets incredibly fast.
Yeah, that retry changes Ethan's run speed. If you don't do that retry, you lose about 15 seconds running through here, just because it's such a big difference. So blast that four-legged in the face, shoot a neuro round at these guys, shoot that guy in the belly, and we're gonna head over here. There's gonna be 2 fat molded that spawn, and Zeke's just gonna briefly look at them while he shoots a neuro round at them. And what this does is it stuns them, and it gives him just enough time to shimmy up this ladder. If you don't stun those guys, they will vomit at you, and it'll knock you off the ladder. In other categories, this is like a big pain point. But fortunately for New Game Plus, we are stocked up on our neuro rounds, we are all good, and the boys stay stunned for long enough. Well done.
Yeah, buddy. Very easy at New Game Plus, don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's a pretty smooth section. So now we're gonna come into here, and you may recognize this. We're back at the start of the game. Oh my gosh.
Ooh, guest house, and we're back.
Guest house, all
you
over
can never
again.
escape.
You can never escape. It's a cycle.
Never. You're stuck here forever. Even when you run no guest house, it's not even true because this is technically still guest house.
Yeah, you still end up in guest house. That's true.
No, guest house doesn't exist. It was a figment of your imagination.
So he swapped out to his circular saw. We kind of see Ethan's face here, like a little bit. Kind of weird. But we have the circular saw. We're gonna head up to the attic for the final fight, which is less of a boss fight, more of a set piece, arguably.
With just a little run killer. Just they had to squeeze one in right before. This one tiny little brutal run killer.
Yeah.
That is not forgiving literally at all.
Yeah, it's a potential 10-second time loss when you get knocked down. So it's like, you might be on PB pace, but we're gonna take it away from you somehow, some way.
Yeah, it's the EV1 cycle. Now, the EV1 cycle went through a little bit of strat development over the last few years where we used to use a bomb. We used to call it the EV bomb boost, where we would basically drop a bomb that would knock us into Evelyn, which was actually a little bit faster than doing it normally, but we discovered we can no longer do that if we wanted the 3-second time save from the item box that we did earlier that Niddle talked about. And because now we do that, because it's a faster time trigger, we have to do this without bomb boosting.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people were doing already. But when you're a boomer like me, stuck in your ways, converting to this was a massive pain. And I'm gonna see if I can get it.
I still have a hard time with this strat. It's very tight. So Evie does her blasts, and these knock Ethan back. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to block and just kind of run at her. If you turn to the left, instead of the blast knocking Ethan, instead of it knocking Ethan back, it knocks him to the side, which puts us a little bit closer at the door. The ultimate goal is to get to Evie after only having blocked one blast. If you mess it up, as you may have noticed, Evie knocks you on the ground. It takes like 8 to 10 seconds to get back up and then inject Evie.
It is 8.24 seconds, in case anyone's wondering. That's my live split test.
8.24.
In case anyone's wondering, about 8 seconds. If you suck at the game like I do.
Not true, dude. Not even close.
That is like, no matter how comfortable you get with this run, no matter how good you eventually get, when you run this game, that will never not scare you for reasons like that. Because you don't want to, if you want to block it, you can block it and only lose like 3 or 4 seconds, but then you're still losing time. But if you don't block it,
it's a classic, like, do I take the risk or do I go full metal and try and get it, you know? And I don't know. I always say, like, if you're on a big enough PB pace, you should go for the max time save. But if you're only on a small PB pace, play it safe. Anyway, so we're gonna saw the big face in the wall, which was Grandma the whole time. Who knew?
It was always Grandma.
And like I said, this boss fight is a bit more of a set piece than an actual boss fight. I always thought it'd be cool if like there were like weak spots that you had to shoot, and like maybe she like took on a different form, like give me a second phase or something. But nah, we just kind of chill here on the ground and we wait for Chris Redfield to airdrop a super powerful version of our Albert, so that way we can take out.
It's the same gun.
It's a slightly modified. I was actually looking at the wiki. It's a slightly modified version of the Albert that he drops. It's like the
it has a laser on it,
but it has the ramrods, which is what we used later in Not a Hero in the DLC. See, I know stuff.
He knows stuff. Don't lie to us. Definitely. Alyssa told you that.
Yeah, totally, 100%. So we're gonna saw our leg, which gets Evie to drop us instantly. If you don't do that on time, she kind of like smacks you around in the air for a bit, and you have to get her to drop you. It's real slow. Now Chris is gonna tell us to use the gun, which is kind of obvious, I think, at this point. And we're gonna go ahead. This optimally takes it. It's 4, right? 5?
4 shots.
4. Optimally, this takes 4. But sometimes her tentacle arms can get in the way, and this can take 5 shots. But that was nice. And that is pretty much it.
You know, that run was actually like really good, except for March and that part at the very end. It's like the run's gonna probably be like a 1:28:20 something.
By the way, time is on the black screen.
On the black screen, yeah. We'll announce time.
Yeah.
But I feel like that run was still pretty good. Like, other than March trolling, which lost a minute and 10 seconds, like.
Definitely. You got to show off a lot of strats.
And time.
Nice. GG.
Yeah, that was actually not bad. March trolled. If we didn't fill March, we would have like a second place run.
Yeah.
Which is like, I can't complain. 1:20:22 for a marathon is not bad, especially when you fail a boss fight that badly. I'm not too upset. The run was really fun, and we showed off a lot of stuff. I hope everyone liked it, and thank you, Amy, for having us. It was super fun. We always love showing RE7 at as many events as we possibly can, because I believe this is like a very good Resident Evil speedrun. If it's your first speedrun, we have a load of resources to like help people learn the game. I've made guides. We have excellent guides from like Marforia. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and just quick shout outs to Niddle for my commentary. Niddle did an amazing job. There's a reason this room was so entertaining. It's because he was talking. It was good. It was really well done. Thank you, dude, for coming and doing this with me. It was always a lot of fun.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, no, super fun. And shout outs, to a handful of people. The RE7 community, obviously, they show their support all the time. Anytime I've done marathons, they've been there. And shout outs to a few specific friends, Cat like Marforia, Nico, the people who support me all the time. And when I'm running this game, they watch me lose my mind to it constantly. Like, always good people to have in my corner. But and again, thank you, Amy and GDQ, for letting us come here and show this off.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was a really incredible run. You like even the stuff you messed up, it looked fine. Because that's one of the benefits of doing things like this, where you learn so many different things. Is that you can just be like, I didn't mess that up. Don't worry about it. Nobody knows. Nobody can call you on it. I'm certainly not going to.
Exactly. It's super great, man. I definitely. And by the way, you guys can catch me at twitch.tv/captain_Ezekiel. My Twitter is at Captain Ezekiel. You can catch Niddle at twitch.tv/Niddle. He runs this game knife only and blindfolded because he is out of his mind. And make sure you hang around. We got a really good friend of ours, actually two good friends of mine, Spicy and Abukamu, are going to be doing new game glitchless Resident Evil Village, and that is a treat. So make sure you hang out and watch them. Very talented runner and record holder.
Yeah. And before we go to break, we have a couple announcements. Frame Fatale's Games Committee applications are now open. Go to games.quick.com/apply. Frame Fatale's has also been selected as a finalist for the Game Her Awards. Learn more with !vote. If you're watching this run and you missed out on any GDQ HotFix shows, check out the archive of past runs and shows at youtube.com/gamesdonequick. Or if you're watching this show on YouTube, feel free to check us out at twitch.tv/gamesdonequick to catch it live starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. And right before we go to break, HotFix is funded in part thanks to subscription and bits. So if you would like to avoid seeing the ads and hear the cool video game music on the break, feel free, please consider subscribing to help future broadcasts.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome back to AIMBOT. It's that show all about FPS runs. For now, we may have some third-person runs on later, but that's a deal for another time. Right now, we have Spicy doing Resident Evil Village, which is a run I'm really psyched for. This is one I really enjoy watching a lot. So Spicy, go ahead and take it.
Hey guys, my name is Spicy. Today we're going to be running Resident Evil Village, new game, casual, glitchless. I'm joined by my commentator, Alvin.
What up?
I'm going to go ahead and get the intro started here because it is a little lengthy, and then we'll explain the story once we get in. Time will be right after I skip this next cutscene. In 3, 2, 1, go.
So, Resident Evil Village. If Captain Ezekiel had chosen Zoe in that final bit, we wouldn't have this, but alas, he chose Mia. So now we got Resident Evil Village 3 years after the event. In Louisiana, he's living with his baby, Rose, and his wife, Mia. Spoilers, we're just going to get right into the plot. Mia's going to get killed, and Rose is going to be kidnapped by Chris Redfield, another very popular protagonist of the Resident Evil series, and she gets abducted to a village somewhere in Europe, and in the next hour and a half, we will be rescuing our daughter. Over the course of the run, since there are some slow sections, anyone in chat, feel free to ask any questions. We'll try to answer them as best as we can. But for the first major tech of the speedrun, we'll be going to what's called Snow Walk. Now, Snow Walk, it's one of the latest major techs that was found really late. I think it was found actually after the hype of Village died. And pretty much what it is usually this is a very cinematic story-based section where Ethan is kind of just trudging along in the snow. You hold W and you check your phone, you check your Instagram, see what's going on. But somebody discovered that if you tap the W key in a very precise order, or if you just bind two separate keys, Ethan kind of just glides really quickly across the snow, and it actually saves 25, 30 seconds in this whole section.
Yeah, it's pretty close to 30 seconds. And I don't know if you saw there that with the way this works is like the movement here is kind of animation based. So you're basically resetting the animation over and over. So I don't know if you saw in the beginning there when we had the shadow from the headlights, but the animation was just kind of stuck in place there. It's kind of weird looking.
Oh yeah. If you see it from a third-person perspective with the third-party software, you just see Ethan kind of just floating along the snow like a ghost. Kind of creepy, but yeah.
Yeah, this whole intro section is kind of just slower. It's meant to be more kind of immersive and cinematic.
So, a little bit more about the category. We're going to be running New Game Casual Glitchless. And the reason why Resident Evil Village is such a great speedrun to get into, there are so many categories for all sorts of speedrunners, for new speedrunners, for veteran speedrunners. The three main differences is there's New Game versus New Game Plus. You know, we don't have a infinite buzzsaw like someone else did in a previous game, and infinite ammo. That's the difference between New Game and New Game Plus. We also have all the difficulties. We have Casual, Hardcore, and Village of Shadows. Village of Shadows is the hardest difficulty, but we'll just be showcasing Casual. It is very the bare bones of this run, but it is still very fun. And then there's also any percent versus glitchless. So any percent, we will be using out of bounds techniques, but for this run, it's going to be glitchless. So we're not going to be skipping anything. Casual New Game is pretty much like I said before, the skeleton, the basic speedrun of this game.
In being the skeleton though, it is probably the most competitive category because it is so basic.
But because it's so basic, it's that double-edged sword, right? Because it's so simple, everyone does it well, and the movement is super precise, the inventory is super precise. One thing to note, it was dark when you went into this cabin, and suddenly it's morning.
Yep. Not sure how that works still.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be a little bit more immersive, you know, but we're trying to rescue our daughter.
Yeah, meant to spend a little more time in there.
Mm-hmm. Now we're going to be coming across the second major tech of the speedrun. It is called checkpoint resetting. So if you look at the top left corner of the screen, you'll see a circle appear. That is the autosave. And at certain points in the run, we are going to pause and reset. This actually propels us forward. We use this to save time. It could be anywhere from 1 to 3 to 4 or 5 seconds. And sometimes we'll use it to reset a specific enemy AI to get through a part easier. We're not going to be doing every tactical reset, because a good chunk of them only save maybe half a second or just save you a turn or something. But we'll be showing the major ones and I'll be pointing them out. But for now, Resident Evil Village.
The goat head's hanging there.
Amazing. Yeah. So, for those of you familiar with the Resident Evil series, we've taken a very, very long departure from your typical super slow zombies. So instead of zombies this game, we're going to be dealing with what we call lichens. Short for lycanthrope. So pretty much they're werewolf people. And those are going to be the main enemies for this game. So we'll actually be running to the first lichen here. We're going to just dodge him to the side and very short encounter.
When you pick up the bolt cutters here, he kind of just despawns for some reason.
And of course the bolt cutter is the traditional RE shout out. You always got to have bolt cutters. But we're going to be coming to the first actual fight with the lichens, the lichen barn. Spicy's going to run to 2 specific checkpoints, and he needs to run to both checkpoints to spawn a lichen in the barn, and then he will need to kill the lichen as fast as he can to progress in the story. I actually hate this section so much on Village of Shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, all difficulties, it's a little weird because the lichens movement is very sporadic. It's quite hard to hit them sometimes.
Good RNG spawn on the item drop though.
Yeah, I got the herb from that, which we'll be using for DA.
So,
Explain.
Lichen Assault. I'm pretty sure for all the runners in chat who have run this game, this is your favorite section. Every category, every difficulty has a different strat for this. And ooh, Spicy took damage. But he did that deliberately, not because he's bad. As Zeke explained in the previous run, difficulty adjustment exists across Resident Evil. And to put it really bluntly, if you suck at Resident Evil and you get hit a lot, the game's gonna make it easier for you. And if you're good at Resident Evil, the game's gonna progressively get harder. So we're gonna manipulate this difficulty adjustment DA by deliberately taking hits. This whole section is timed, so there really is nothing to do in casual new games except take hits and spawn enemies, get certain items at certain timings so that we're able to end this section at a very low DA. So we're able to one cycle a future boss coming up.
This section is very interesting in the way that it works. There's a few ways that we do make it end faster.
Yeah, there's
While also trying to manipulate DA.
Yeah, I remember when this section first came out, so many people were trying to route the best way to do this section, and I think a couple of us just stood on the ladder. But what we didn't, because it gives you iframes, but what we didn't know is if you stand on the ladder, the timer doesn't actually continue. So you could actually be playing this game for 24 hours if you're on the ladder and still be on this section.
I'm not sure about you, but on my casual playthrough, I thought that I could cheese the section by sitting on the ladder. Because I realized that you couldn't take damage on it, and it actually does not work. End up just sitting there waiting forever.
Yeah, I thought it was like RE4 that you have to kill a certain amount of people to get the church bell to ring, you know? So I just try to kill everyone only to run out of ammo and, kind of get mad after that. But Spicy's sitting here specifically, it's going to spawn a mini boss a little bit earlier. His name is Arias, and Arias is essential to progressing the story and the event of the Lichen Siege. Spicy's going to get stunned here momentarily from a roar. So you see that Spicy's dying now. So in all the difficulties, once Ethan is in a dying state, the red colored screen, he will recover back to 30%. And it's
also move
not
much slower than that.
Oh yeah. But it's important not to die, which sounds easier said than done. Because a lot of us, I think, in this section, we're just like, yeah, we take hits, and then some runs we're just like, oh crap, we're actually dead.
Yeah. Okay. I think that has happened to everyone once or twice. It's kind of hard to die the lichens, but yeah, it definitely has happened. Urias, on the other hand, if you walk out of that gate not healed where Urias spawns, his like threshold for killing you is much larger, and I've actually died to Urias a few times.
Fun fact though, the death animations for both the common Lycans and a Rice actually interrupt each other. So I was actually caught in a dying animation from a Lycan once. But the Rice just swung his hammer and said, no, the run's not dead. And I said, oh, cool. That aimbot's really useful now, Spicy, isn't it? That you're running with.
Yep, I did get the upgraded version, as Zeke was talking about.
Nice.
Here, I'm gonna take one more hit, and then we're gonna try to be... Actually, there's no one left around. We're gonna try to be in the open for this section to end here, because there's 2 different animations you can get for this to end. There's one where a Lycan will kind of grab you and put his hand over your mouth, and then there's this arrow one, and the arrow one triggers about 5 to 6 seconds faster. Oh, and also the heals that we crafted, I didn't mention, but when you heal in this game, your difficulty adjustment also drops. So we try to get as low as we can, and then heal up for a big DA drop.
A very successful Lycan section. Claps in chat. That's actually a lot harder than it looks to get right, because if you don't take enough damage, you're kind of screwed for a later boss fight. So it's very important to take as much damage as you can. But the game gets a little bit slower here. Spicy's going to go out of the way to pick up a mine. One of the 2 major explosives we're going to be using for the rest of the run. And I think for those of you who have seen the trailer, we're going to be introduced to very major and very familiar, new characters, but very major characters for the rest of this run. What's her name? Elena?
Elena is this one here.
Yeah, we could clearly see her through the cutscene you skipped. Amazing.
Mm-hmm. And then we have the owner of the house that lets us in here is Louisa.
Oh, there you go. We saw her for all 4 seconds.
A little waiting section here. Take a look at the pictures.
Yeah, a little bit more story-driven section here. At this point, Ethan has reached the village where Rose is. But, you know, there are a lot of wolfmen around, so he's going to run into a group of survivors and say, you know, what the heck is going on? And just a little bit of story. And Spicy's going to delay skipping the scene here so we get introduced to a lot of the major characters for the rest of this run. It's important, so take note of who's who, you know, name-wise and what they look like.
Come inside, the others are waiting.
Just a little bit to show here.
Yep.
And they're actually all dead.
They're all dead. Yeah. But we get to escape with Elena, because at this point, surprise, surprise, it turns into a co-op run, where I'm going to shortly take control over Elena in maybe about 30 seconds.
Damn, the fire's moving fast.
That cutscene is actually hilarious. This one here, he just kind of rams the truck into the wall. I found that so funny on my casual playthrough.
It breaks into the wall. Yeah, he just like rams it. He's just like, yeah, what did I expect? But anyway, just kidding. It's not a co-op run. Elena also dies, and Spicy is running this alone. He doesn't have a Sheva to run with him. A little bit more of the story. Spicy is going to run into a character, a hooded figure named Mother Miranda. And who is exactly this Mother Miranda? Well, we'll get to that shortly once we enter the next section. But for now, Amy, if you have any questions or if chat has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Keep them coming, boys.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll just ask Spicy the same thing that I asked Zeke. You know, what brings you to this game? You know, why continue to run it? Why, you know, is it?
Well, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. I've played kind of all the games casually. I never really speedran before this game, but when I saw how big the speedrun community was for this game, the hype drew me in. The speedrun community when this game first came out was insane. The amount of people and how active it was. It was a lot of fun being a part of it.
Yeah, it's always really nice to have like a big community around you to do stuff.
See, Spicy's too humble to say it, but he's a speedrunner that came out of nowhere and took all the world records, to the point that a lot of us, like veteran runners and mods, were saying, who is this guy? Is he a cheater? But Spicy's actually one of the most mechanically advanced RE speedrunners. So, anyway, right here, we're going to be introduced to the 4 bosses, the 4 lords. We'll explain each of them as we get to this section. But for now, we're going to be escaping as one of the lords is kind of just toying with us.
Catch another glimpse of Urias here.
Not a particularly hard section, not a lot of tech, it's just run to the end. We obviously just want to take optimal lines and get the end as fast as we can.
Yep. And then conveniently placed here is a little hole in the wall we can sit in.
Shout out to Neil Newbin. He plays the voice of Heisenberg, who is the voice you are hearing right now, and all his voice acting is so good.
Yeah,
English
all
voice
the voice
acting.
actors.
I guess to answer a question that's popular amongst RE games, there is no language difference for Village. Most scripted events are just based on a cutscene time-wise.
Too close.
And they definitely put in a lot more effort into the English voice acting, more so
those
than the
freaks have
Japanese voice
rose?
acting for this one.
100% the English is the best. The Japanese is not bad though.
Yeah.
The English for this game is just on another level though.
Yeah, and we'll be using the English language is important because there's actually a voice line cue that we use to know when a boss's iframe ends. Morsels, you know?
Yep.
Speaking of morsels,
action, yeah.
welcome to the first section of the game, the castle. Now, I don't know about you, Spicy, but when this game was first advertised and the trailers were playing, they kind of showed this section as what? The end section, right? The umbrella section of the game.
Yeah, pretty much. It was really the only thing they showed in any of the trailers and stuff, which I think actually worked out really well. And here we're going to see the Duke for the first time, which is the merchant of this game.
I've been waiting.
We won't be interacting with him for a while though.
It's crazy how fast he gets around places, but you know, video game. But yeah, they did it.
DLC explaining that.
Yeah, but Capcom did a really great job. They kind of, when I played this game casually, I didn't know any of the sections past the castle because they honestly didn't show any of the bosses or any of the sections, right?
Yeah, I actually really like how they did that. So kind of like when you play it casually, even after you watched all the trailers and stuff, everything was like really new after the castle. It's pretty cool.
I think the castle obviously has the most work, but obviously I think a lot of viewers who've never played Resident Evil Village love the castle, specifically for its boss. Who
Yeah,
I
we'll
would
get to
argue I would argue that the boss is probably more famous than Village itself, right?
Most likely, yeah. Actually, undoubtedly. Not even most likely. Yeah.
How would you describe the 8-foot tall, pale mommy Donnie? Is that what the kids are saying?
That is pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the boss of this castle is an 8-foot tall, vampire-esque lady named Lady Dimitrescu. She has 3 sub-bosses, 3 daughters, Bella, Cassandra, and Daniela. So to progress through the castle, we'll be needing to fight all 3 sub-bosses before we fight Lady Dimitrescu. Right here is an example of a checkpoint restart that Spicy didn't do, obviously for this run because it's such a minor time save. But after you pick up the healing, if you just checkpoint reset there, you don't have to turn around. Saves you 0.3, 0.4 seconds.
Yep, something like that. It puts you a little closer to the door as well.
Oh yeah.
Now we'll be making our way to the first sub-boss or mini-boss of the area. It's Bella. It's one of the 3 daughters.
So the game casually wants you to fight, I think in the order of Bella, Cassandra, Daniela in a 1, 2, 3 order. But for the sake of the speed run, we're actually going to be fighting them out of order in a 1, 3, 2. Simply because some of them are closer to the others than the others. And it's fun to note that in any percent with the out of bounds, you're actually able to skip a good chunk of these sub-bosses. I think you only fight one of the daughters in the out of bounds percentage for this game.
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy.
Dad, which would
He checkpoints reset here because if you don't checkpoint reset, Ethan actually just falls with his death because he falls 3 stories and the game is over. But no, he checkpoint resets there to avoid a stagger animation from Ethan falling from all that. And he's gonna
Yeah,
be
he has a
doing that
really long
anytime
get-up
he drops.
animation.
Yep. Bit of a fire puzzle here. We're going to be introduced to another new type of enemy. It is more of the traditional zombies, but I think they have a Romanian name. It's like Moroaki.
Morika or something? Yeah, it's
Morika,
something weird
yeah.
to pronounce.
Yeah, I keep saying Morokai from League of Legends. I swear I don't play League, but you know, I just know that name. But yeah, Spicy's going to be picking up a pipe bomb right here, which is the second major explosive we'll be using for the rest of the run. But here the I don't know how you pronounce it. It's kind of cool though that how Capcom uses actually, I think it's Romanian names for a lot of the enemy types in this. But anyway, first sub-boss Bella coming up. I'm going to be a little bit quiet because the strat is a little bit difficult, so Spicy, take it away. Amazing.
That was really close. I didn't know if I was gonna get it.
Can we get claps in chat? I mean, did you see that? That mine placement. Did you have to crouch down before you placed the mine?
I did have to crouch. I did have to crouch, yeah. If I didn't get the crouch off, it probably would have been over.
Ooh, that's a ballsy strat. Anyway, no. But this first sub-boss is actually the difference in difficulties for Village of Shadows. I think this sub-boss is actually one of the hardest boss fights in the game because they spawn you with a lot of enemies in the room that just one-shot you.
Yep, pretty much. Everything in Village of Shadows kind of just kills you in one hit. So. Also, if you saw there, after she was dead, I shot the body as soon as her animation froze. That makes her body shatter faster, which actually triggers the door to start opening. Saves a few seconds on each one of the daughters.
Yeah. A little cool skip coming up here. Spicy's gonna shotgun the daughter right here to let us pass. And if you notice that, unlike Zeke, Spicy doesn't have the urge to reload his guns. That's because Spicy's not really an FPS gamer. But the real reason for that is the shotgun actually fires faster with one bullet in the chamber because you're able to cancel the reload animation. So as opposed to, let's say you had 4 bullets, instead of going shot, reload, or shot, click, it actually fires faster going shot, reload, shot, reload, shot, reload. That is why Spicy only has 1 bullet. At least for the shotgun.
Yep. That actually affects a lot of the strats in like Village of Shadows. Like a lot of the strats actually rely on you being able to shoot the shotgun faster like that. So
yeah, frame
that's
perfect.
helped out a lot.
Yep. So you didn't see it here because there's a manipulation, but Spicy actually turned the statues. We're actually able to come out of the animation from turning the statues. You don't have to see the statue turn all the way, it'll just turn for you. But now, a wine cellar, and this is not blood, it's fruit punch. For the family-friendly viewers. You see Spicy shooting the water because a bunch of the Moraki enemies spawn there, and by shooting the water accurately, he's able to prevent the spawn and prevent them from blocking it. A clean basement. I know a lot of runners here tend to screw up sometimes. Maybe 1 out of 10.
The shots on the guys in the water is actually a little more difficult than it looks because the hitbox on them is a little weird. It's not exactly where they pop up at.
Oh yeah, it's extremely precise. My favorite cutscene where we get to see.
Oh.
Oof. Oh.
Go ahead.
He knocks us into the basement. We're gonna be trying to escape the castle at this point.
Here's going to be another one of the bigger resets. After I flip this lever up, I'm going to reset the checkpoint and the gate will immediately be open instead of having to wait for it to open.
Yep, and he's going to be on the other side. So now we're going to be heading to the lever that actually ends the castle section. But Lady D has different ideas. She actually in this cutscene has cut off her hand. So we're going to pick up a key item. Our hand.
Severed hand.
Yeah. I just run around with it for a bit. This section is a little bit tricky. Everyone has their own preference about how they run this section. But because your health isn't critical, if you take 1 hit, you're dying. And obviously in dying, you run a little bit slower. So you actually lose maybe 14, 15 seconds.
That's quite significant, yeah. Kind of a run killer. That is one of the 4 masks that we need to get out of here.
On the less serious side, one of the big Resident Evil 8 memes coming up, the magic of the herb. And no hand?
She has the ability to sew the jacket back together as well. Kind of crazy.
We haven't heard that many. How many times have we heard that in speedrunning in the Twitch chat, huh?
It's the magical Sprite.
Magical Sprite. Look at
Sprite?
that.
I don't think I've heard Sprite before. That's pretty good though.
Oh, what was that? 10 seconds? Amazing.
And he says good. Big reaction out of him.
A very, very funny puzzle coming up for me. Quite bluntly, you have to read sheet music for the next puzzle. And you can tell from all the speedrunners who's played music in their life, who was a band geek or who played in orchestra, because they're like, no way, and they just, you know, kind of read the sheet music. But for Spicy here, you're gonna see him kind of just guess and check where the keys are.
Yeah, let's see how bad this is.
So when I played this
Not too
casually, when I played this casually, I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, when the first time I played this casually, I walked up to this. I don't know any kind of music or anything, so I just walked up to this and kind of stared at it for a little bit and thought you actually had to like read music to figure it out, and so I started pressing buttons to figure it out.
Yeah, all those years of being an orchestra nerd finally paid off. I'm able to do Resident Evil 8 puzzle 1 second faster. We're gonna run by Lady Dimitrescu here. It's pretty free, and we're gonna be fighting the second boss, Daniela. Now, what the game doesn't tell you is that these girls are invincible unless they're exposed to the cold. So what we did there is pull the lever to a sunroof, and it lets the cold air in. Why these sub-bosses are fighting in a room where there's an open window, I don't know. But that is Daniela. A couple of shotgun shells. And we're done. Simple puzzle room. I think everyone's like screwed up this puzzle room once because the bell placement is somewhat RNG for one of the bells. And you aren't through. There are
This
a
one
lot
took
of
me
funny.
so long to do casually because I couldn't find the one outside.
Yeah, it took me a little bit as well. And also, that bell room is the reason that we're fighting the bosses a little out of order, because there's a door in there that takes a little bit to open after you do the bells. So we come and do this boss fight while we're waiting for the door to open.
We pick up the second mask here, but the gate behind us closes, so we're going to be forced into this room with a boss fight. We're going to be using the pipe bomb we picked up earlier to blow a hole in the wall. And then that exposes Cassandra to the cold. And we're able to fight her and beat her very swiftly. And for those of you asking, what if you used the pipe bomb earlier? This room just gives you pipe bomb, so there's absolutely no excuses why you can't blow a hole in the wall at this point. I think on New Game Plus, you could just use the rocket pistol to open any sort of explosive will break the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Crazy witch.
So that is all three daughter fights. We're going to be heading to the big mommy. Putting an animal skull there to let us out of the room. You're going to see Spicy hesitate for a second here. That is because the hallway is too narrow at a certain point if we had just run through for us to pass. Because Lady Dimitrescu has very
How do you...
voluptuous hitboxes.
Yeah.
That,
Bigger hitboxes. The hitbox is bigger in some areas than others.
Yeah. Yeah, so we actually have to wait a second there till she gets to a more wider part of the hallway and run by her.
Up here, we're going to be picking up probably the most powerful weapon in the run. The sniper rifle. Once we upgrade this thing, it has the highest DPS out of any weapon in the game. On New Game, at least.
I think more so than the Magnum, right, if you fully upgrade this.
I think it does, yeah.
Bit of a free section here. We're going to see a lot of flying enemies spawn, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone get hit by these. They're just more there to intimidate you, more so than anything. But yeah, with the sniper and with the the only place we're able to upgrade is with the merchant. And because casual is such a tight and very well-rooted category, thanks to Spicy and, of course, Captain Ezekiel, big shout-out to him, we will only be visiting the Duke twice for explosives and upgrading the sniper rifle. So here we go, getting the fourth mask as we prepare to fight Lady E.
Okay, I should be able to get out with this.
Didn't get grief there. There is a chance that when you're coming back out of that section there, the guys can fly in your way and kind of block you a little bit. Not too big of a deal. Usually you can shoot them out of the way, but...
So, Lady Dimitrescu is wandering around the castle, but unlike Mr. X and Resident Evil 2 Resident Evil 2 Remake, her locations are very set, so we know that she's actually going to spawn right here. Spicy's going to swing to one direction around her based on her animation. Clean. And then he's going to be inserting the mask in a specific order to open the gate ahead. And normally on a run, you would run to the Duke room to get a cutscene because the timer stops when you're in a cutscene, but the door is still opening. But for marathon's sake, we're just gonna take a free hit here below our DA just to be safe.
Yeah, if your DA is not low enough once you get to the second main boss, or I guess the third main boss, it can get pretty rough, so it's gonna be a little safe.
So in the lore, Lady Dimitrescu is invincible, invulnerable, call it whatever you like, besides of a poison dagger in this tomb right here. So we're gonna be skipping the cutscene, but Spicy's gonna stab Lady D, which causes her to mutate into a giant dragon. Now this boss has 3 phases, so Spicy's just gonna shoot her really quickly here to get the boss fight started. Because the boss is very specific phases and specific HP thresholds, we're actually going to run around and shoot her a specific amount. We don't want to over damage her because for her second phase, she is going to recover back to a certain threshold. I think it is about 70%. But we need to get her just below 60% for her to go to the next phase. We'll take a free hit there just to lower our DA, and she is at the threshold right now actually. So we're going to wait, timing-wise, for the second phase.
Yeah, this part is very scripted. She has to make a full lap around the top of the tower before she'll phase.
The Spicy is actually going to throw these 2 pipe bombs at a very specific moment right when the second phases start. That way, Lady Dimitrescu is 1 shot for going to the third and final phase. Like I said, for speedrunning, it's a lot harder. If we make it look easy, we're doing our job, right?
This boss fight is really cool casually. I really like this boss fight casually.
Yeah, and if you miss that timing, actually, you lose, what, 20 seconds? Because she goes into another flying phase, lands.
Yeah. It can get rough really fast.
For the third phase, Lady Dimitrescu is gonna kind of pin you to this room at the top of the tower. She's actually not invulnerable, but she will recover her HP. The boss fight will start when she says morsel in her voice line. You'll see Spicy shoot her as soon as that voice line ends. Which is why language change is also a meme for this, because when I think viewers request for language change using channel point rewards, we're just like, okay, what's the cue? And then the Russians were like, oh yeah, it's this word. And the Portuguese were like, yeah, it's this word. You know?
Never actually picked out those words though, instead of just guessing.
I think I only know the Russian words.
Looks like I'm getting out of this place.
But we're going to be picking up a key item for the rest of the game. It's a flask. And what is this flask? We'll be finding out shortly. But for now, a bit of a walk as Spicy just goes back to the village. Now, the village is a really cool part of this whole game. It is a central hub between the areas that we're going to be needing to progress. It opens up different areas to treasures each time we come back. Different weapons, different enemies. And more so than a safe room, it's kind of cool how it's just an open area, right?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of the game, honestly. To have like a hub world that you go back to. I really like when games do that. I was kind of surprised this game did, because normally RE games are like a little more linear. Which this game is a little bit. It does like force you into doing the boss fights in a specific order.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Solid game, I liked it, but it was way too linear.
Is this?
We got time for questions, Amy, if you have any.
I think. What? So,
yeah, go ahead.
what's your favorite like section of this game, or what? I guess what have you like done the most work on optimizing for yourself?
Favorite section, and honestly, probably most optimized is going to be the factory,
yeah.
which is the last section, because the factory doesn't really have any downtime and it's very execution heavy. So you're constantly doing things. We've done a lot of optimization there with the bosses. We even switched up the route almost completely just for factory. We started picking up their grenade launcher. So there's been a lot of work done there, and it's really fun to do.
So
Here we're going to be putting in... You can explain the flasks if you want.
Yeah, so the flask actually is our daughter Rose. So she is kind of separated into 4 flasks. So we need all 4 of them to recover. And I don't know why that makes sense, but just go with it. It's the game. You're gonna see Spicy pull a long shot off into the distance there. That actually blows off the lock of a future door we need to go through to shorten an area. So we'll explain that actually when we get there. But a new area opens up in the village hub, and we're just gonna be getting a jack and trying to progress the story a little bit. I got a question in chat. Who is Spicy? Who is your favorite of the 4 Mother Miranda lords?
Let me do this lock and then I'll answer.
I guess design-wise, more so than the boss fight.
Design-wise, Heisenberg is really cool design-wise. Lady D is also really cool. I don't know. I feel like the designs of all the bosses are really good. It's actually hard for me to choose. If I had to choose one, it'd probably be Lady D though, honestly, in the whole castle section.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for mecha, so definitely Heisenberg.
This area can actually be quite a run killer, this whole run back to the jack handle and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's a specific run, because if you're a little bit late, the enemies can actually hit you. Grab.
Yep, like that. I'm actually very surprised I got put into an animation there. Usually if enemies are behind you and they go for a grab, you'll kind of get staggered forward, but you won't get put into a grab animation, but...
No, DM
pulled me there.
It was intentional.
Oh, DM, yeah. I actually was doing that for
yes.
DM manipulation, boys. Yeah.
But the door he kind of cut through where the pipe bomb was the door he shot the lock off of, and we're able to pick up a free pipe and save about 10 seconds? They introduced a new enemy in this section, but we skipped that. It is the armored lichen. It is pretty much a lichen with a lot of armor on. We're gonna combine the key and go back to the Duke, who's gonna pretty much tell us, so, you wanna save your daughter Rose? Here are the other 3 lords areas. Go beat them. We're just like, cool, let's go do that. It would have been really cool if we could go out of order, but, you know, we have to go in a very specific order. Go ahead, Spicy.
Yeah. When he shows us this map here, I thought it actually was going to be a thing you can kind of go in whatever order you want, but turns out it wasn't. And that map actually has a very weird mechanic. That map will only not let you skip it for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds. For the first time that you open it when you start your game. So normally what we would do before runs is we have a save setup right before that part. So we would run up, open up the map, and then we would start doing runs for the day. So that you can skip that map on all the runs you do. It's really weird.
So coming up, the second lord, Donna Beneviento. For those of you who saw the cutscene earlier with the little pup marionette with the wedding dress, that is Angie, the voice of Donna, I would say. And we're gonna be dealing with Donna the puppet master, pretty much.
Come with me.
This whole section,
There's something I have to tell you.
casually and immersively, one of the best sections in any Resident Evil game. Honestly, I was super scared when I played this for the first time.
100%.
Oh yeah, speedrun though. It's one of those sections that's just so easy. It's like shipping RE7. It's just easy, but you can just still lose time, you know? There's nothing really to gain.
Yeah.
What the hell is this?
Everyone
Very
leaves me.
slow.
Even Rose. I don't want
The lore-wise, Donna actually has a hallucination power. I think it's through a flower of some sort, but all of this is actually a hallucination for Ian. Or Ian, Ethan.
Am I losing it?
Oh yeah, Ian. Ethan's younger brother.
Yeah,
Very
when I
famous.
played this... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, when I played this, it reminded me a lot of that one part in Far Cry 5, where you run into the hallucinogenic zone.
Was it Far Cry 3? I didn't play 5, but I know in 3 you go into like a mushroom cave. You have to get some mushrooms and you hallucinate the entire time. That part's pretty sick.
Yeah, you hallucinate a bunch of Far Cry games.
Really? That just
Yeah.
I think my favorite hallucinogen section of any video game is GTA 5, where you end up shooting a bunch of aliens as Trevor.
Oh, man.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Pretty good too.
But a very famous section out of a lot of YouTube reaction videos called, for the sub-boss, mini-boss of this area. We're not going to spoil it yet, because I think it's kind of cool when we get to it. But for now, this whole section has no enemies, so we're not going to be using our gun. It is pretty much a large escape room where we're going to have to be doing a lot of the puzzles in a sequential order. The Spice is going to enter the Beneviento mansion, and he's going to quickly leave because he finds out it's a little bit scared. But the actual reason he leaves is because Once Ethan steps outside for a second, he will actually use his outside speed to run through the mansion. If you had just entered the mansion and continued normally, Ethan would be kind of just walking at a slow pace. So we're gonna be run to the elevator. Where at that point, Ethan starts slowing down. Saves 4 or 5 seconds if you get it first try.
Yeah, it would have been so nice if we could have kept that movement speed through the whole house. Would have made this section a lot faster. All slow.
Has there been any attempt to like try to clip out of bounds into this section, or?
Yeah,
I'm not sure
yes,
if there is in this section.
Yes,
there has been.
have, but there are a lot of soft lock. There are a lot of key items we have to pick up that otherwise soft lock the game. So it's not worth taking the time to do so.
Okay.
The game is kind of littered with triggers everywhere. The out of bounds that even work in Castle and Factory are miracles that they work, to be honest.
So the method of how we get out of bounds in this game is we use some sort of explosive, and the explosion knocks Ethan back
my gun?
against the wall, and it'll propel Ethan through the wall in tight corners. I'm pretty sure the glitch hunters have tried this. They just said it's not either worth it or, we can't find any.
And
Yeah, it's just
we
always
do
weird what like works.
Yeah.
Spicy is doing a couple puzzles here, but he's actually skipping about half the puzzles because in this game, none of the puzzles are RNG. They always have a set solution. They'll be skipping a lot of key items and only doing the important ones to progress the story. For example, this music box, the combination is always 1 2 2 4 4 5 5 3. So.
Messed up a little bit there, but it's okay. Doing this fast, it's really punishing if you get it wrong, because there's like an 8-second animation of it like trying to spin up and then saying that it didn't work. So it's usually better to take your time a little bit there.
I think that's the best part of speedrunning in any game. We don't actually know how the puzzle works. We just memorize the correct combination. As soon as we mess up, we were just like, so how does this puzzle go again?
There's another part coming up where if I were to mess up an input, it would be a bit scuffed. And then right here, like I just said, there's 2 interactions like very close to each other there. So there's a chance that you hit the eye if you try to do that a little too quickly. We need to interact with the mouth.
Like I said, casually, this section is very spooky. There are subtle changes around every area you go to. The music is very daunting. So I remember playing this, we're not exactly running through it. We're not speeding through it. We're kind of taking our time saying, oh crap, what's around the corner, And what's kind of funny is as well, they have actually closets you can hide in really early. And then you're thinking,
kind of gives it away.
Yeah, and then you're like, what am I going to have to hide from? Game? No.
They do kind of build up to it for this entire time.
Oh yeah, it's like a very an amnesia throwback. They give you the hide interaction very early, and you're just thinking, okay, what am I gonna have to hide from?
Yeah.
I think this reference is cool. I think it's a ring. Obviously, I think it's a ring reference. With the well. But yeah, just a bunch of key items. Into the next section.
Ignore the phone call behind us.
Oh my god, that actually startled me. I keep forgetting there's a phone call.
Mia right there.
Or is it? Is it actually Mia? Is it your guilty conscience? I see. Are you a good person?
So obsessed with this question.
Anyway, we're gonna be entering. So this section, the puzzle set, like we said, we're gonna be entering a really dark basement, but Spicy's just gonna sprint on through. No fear.
This part made me so uncomfortable when I played this casually.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, shout out to LJ. I was watching him run this part. And he was like, "Oh, F no, I'm not going through I'm not going down here." I'm like, "Yeah, me neither." Yeah, we're gonna be picking up a key, and the whole setting is going to change as the mini boss of the area will spawn. But because we don't have any weapons, we're simply gonna have to be running past, which I'm sure many of you know, the baby.
Quite literally running past him at one point.
Mm-hmm. A the baby. What could be bad about a baby, you ask? Well, I don't think Spicy's gonna get to see him for the first bit. But it is a giant, alien, grotesque baby that just one-shots you if he catches you. So this movement is actually pretty free if you practice it, but we're gonna have to run around a loop and get to a locked door before the baby is able to make half a loop. And it's actually a very tight window. If you are behind maybe 2 or 3 seconds, the baby will actually catch up and eat you. And for the Beneviento House section would be so relaxed and easy, but it is one of the most difficult parts of the speedrun in that it is kind of boring, but it has a hard section in it. Because at some point, everyone's died to the baby. Shout out to my boy, Lion.
Lion, if you're here, I'm gonna have to politely ask you to leave the chat.
So there's a meme. There's a runner whose name's Lion. Whenever he's in chat for any runner, if you've never died to the baby, you're gonna die to the baby if he's in your chat.
I'm a little
the big
nervous
skip,
going into
fingers
this. I hope
crossed.
I get this first try.
So the big skip, the baby skip. There are lots of ways to do it, but we're gonna be doing it not the hardest way. Zeke does it the hardest way, but we're gonna be doing it the quickest way. So if you've seen Zeke running Resident Evil 7, he changes his FPS to change the hitbox of certain enemies, and that is what Spicy's going to do. He is going to time his run past the baby after he changes the FPS, so good luck, Spicy. Amazing. That is actually a lot harder than it just looks like, because sometimes you get warped back to the baby and
Yeah, if you go a little too late, you'll teleport you back into the death animation. It's so scary.
I remember like running by him, but then it teleported me back to the death animation because I guess our hitboxes collided, and I was just like, "Phew, what?" I just got so mad at the game.
That is the scariest part to get to when you're on good pace.
A set section here. The baby will never reach up to you, assuming you go into the elevator right away. But a funny interaction here. PC players actually don't have to hit the elevator switch to the right. Console players have to. Kind of weird.
Is that really a thing?
Yes,
I didn't know
is a
about that.
thing. Yeah.
Like this button I don't have to press on PC?
No. To enter the elevator. Because console players have to time that button to get into the elevator as soon as the elevator gets down. So they're like spamming the interact button at that point.
Oh, interesting.
But that is the baby. We're gonna be entering the main boss of the area, Angie and Donna Beneviento. Very, very fun boss fight. It's a simple game of hide and seek. We're gonna have to find Angie 3 times before a certain time, and the dolls will start attacking us. Casually, it's kind of hard, you know, like to find a doll amongst all these dolls. But Angie actually has 3 spawn points that are pretty much set. The second and third spawn point have a little bit of RNG, that they could be a little bit further away, and I think that is the only example of pure RNG in this run, that there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
We can kind of use visual cues and audio cues to tell where she is instead of exploring necessarily. But hopefully we get good RNG here. This is honestly a run killer if you're trying to go for the world record. The first spawn right there is always the same. The second spawn, the 2 locations is about maybe a 2-second difference. Good.
Oh,
Nope.
bad first
Sorry about
one.
that.
It is a marathon
Macy's-
after all, so.
Yeah, so you saw Spicy look over that ledge because the doll could actually be over there. It's a little bit closer than this one. But the main one, the 5-6 second time loss,
It is a marathon after all, so it does make
is
sense.
a marathon. So normally Angie would just be to the right there, but of course she's all the way back where the elevator is. Didn't I tell you, Spicy? I think when we did our practice run, she was always in the good RNG, and I think I said,
Yeah,
you know, in
it
the
was,
marathon,
yeah.
you're gonna get the worst RNG.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the worst RNG.
At this point, if you're going for a world record, you reset here, honestly, because of that.
Only really on New Game Plus. The other categories aren't that optimized yet. New Game Plus is like pretty there though.
So you stab Angie, or did you? Ethan comes out of his hallucination to find Donna Beneviento dead. So lore-wise, it doesn't really tell you what happened, but a lot of people just naturally assume you actually stabbed Donna Beneviento through the hallucination. But anyways, that's
Can't
the end of that
overthink it too
section.
much.
Yeah.
It is a
I
Resident
know
Evil
that-
game.
Yeah, I know there are a couple people who just, push up their glasses and start typing a Harry Potter essay about what actually happened. Well, actually. Yeah.
Oh, did we explain the elevator loads?
Oh yeah, elevator loads. So when this game came out, the devs are like, there are gonna be no loads in this game, and we're like, oh cool, nice. Turns out elevators are hidden loads. So it's very hardware dependent as well. So in a full run, you'll see a lot of people pause on elevators for the game to load. So for some PCs, this is maybe a 3-4 story elevator, but for the lower end consoles like PS4, early gen PS4s, you are waiting about 20-30 stories for the
Yeah,
level to load.
that's insane.
There's a
You're
tac
right.
shotgun up here, but we're gonna be skipping it for casual. But we're just gonna pick up another mine right here.
The knock at the fast door. Fortunately, if you get that mine quick enough, you can actually get out before the door closes. Saves like maybe a second. You don't have to wait for the door to close all the way before you can open it again.
I think another, not recent, but another routing change that occurred relatively late into the speedrun was a lot of people said, "Hey, we don't need the tac shotgun, do we?" Because what would happen is we would sell the shotgun to pick up the tac shotgun that is in that room, until someone just said, "Hey, we don't really use a shotgun."
Now, actually, we have routed out the shotgun completely. So I'm actually going to be selling the shotgun here, and then we will not have a shotgun for the rest of the run.
How is that aimbot shooting that cage? Spicy.
Okay, dude.
Okay.
It's RNG.
So the first of the two Duke stops, we're gonna be selling all of our treasure, selling a couple of stuff. We're gonna be upgrading the sniper rifle to max firepower, and we're also gonna be buying all the explosives and the recipe to craft said explosives. So why didn't we do this before Dawn of Beneviento? Well, actually, because every time you beat a lord, the Duke adds one set of explosives to the shop each time. So that gives us, if we buy it now, one extra explosive.
Yep, and
gonna be
also the
interesting,
lords
yeah.
also drop like very high value treasures that we need to be able to afford that there, because we got ANG on the way out.
That aimbot's really useful.
That fence actually, even if you hit it, for some reason that fence tanks shots sometimes. It's really weird. The
I
only
think
fence
it-
that does that.
I think you just missed, buddy.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, this section we just passed is actually really scary. Through the audio cues, we sometimes hear the alpha lichens behind us. I remember on my casual playthrough, I didn't know that there were two alpha lichens. One in front of you kind of just jumps at you if you're a little bit slow. And I let out a very
Beautiful
shrieking
sound
scream.
clip.
Yes, it is a meme on my channel, but I let a very shrieking scream. And that happened. But we're gonna be entering the third major area of village, the reservoir, and we're gonna be fighting the third lord, Salvatore Moreau, who is a fish. Well, no, he's like a hunchback-looking guy, if you recall the cutscene earlier. But he does turn into a fish. Kind of a sad character, actually. All the lords just kind of look at him and say, "What are you doing with your life?"
He is kind of sad. His voice lines definitely are supposed to evoke some kind of sympathy, but Ethan just doesn't care.
It's a
He
very
does try to
short.
kill us though.
Yep. Short section here. We're gonna pick up the flask right away. Romero kind of asks us, don't take that. The others are gonna laugh at me. And Ethan obviously isn't human. He's gonna say why. We'll just leave. Romero's gonna try to stop us and kind of blocks off the whole area. So we're gonna need to beat him and progress to the rest of the story.
And the reservoir is actually flooded currently, so we do have to go get a boat key from here. Be able to drive a boat around to get where we need to go. This section on casual is typically pretty free, as long as you take decent lines. On Village of Shadows, there's actually an armored lichen there, and all the lichens just move and react much quicker. So if you get stuck there on Village of Shadows, it is really likely that you actually get hit, and you can end up dying there. Making our way to the boat now. This is the reservoir area. This area is also pretty cool. Really, all of the like kind of boss areas in this game are pretty sick. They did a really good job with the atmosphere.
Upcoming, we're gonna get a glimpse of Moreau as a boss. I think I said he is a giant fish, so right here.
What was that?
We're gonna run into a cutscene where we actually meet Chris Redfield again, and we're just gonna ask him, what's going on here? And he kind of doesn't want to tell us, but luckily Moreau attacks, and we're just kind of solving puzzles and trying to find a giant fish boss at this point.
Here's gonna be another one of the resets that we do. It skips a pretty long getting up animation that you get here.
For the village runners in chat, can we get a fish moly? I'm the best, please.
Oh yeah, we have to time that.
He said the exit's underwater.
Anyone has that copy pasta saved?
I've been saving this one.
Don't get to
think
hear that
that's
one on
what-
casual, unfortunately.
Yeah. We'll get to why if we don't get to hear that, but... So pretty much the premise of this is we're going to need to activate a windmill to drain the reservoir. But the only working crank is on the opposite side of a submerged village. So Moreau mechanically can one-shot you if he is swimming by any of your planks. The movement is set though, so we will not be dying. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully. Yeah.
I mean...
There
it
is
a
one part of
marathon.
here that I definitely could die, so...
My least favorite section of the run is the levers. So there are going to be 3 levers coming up here that you need to hit in a certain order. If you don't hit them in a certain order and aren't quick about it, the bridges will actually submerge and you will get one shot killing your run. But I swear the game sometimes eats your input. It does, I swear. Spicy.
No, they actually do, unironically. The levers are a little buggy. You kind of have to make sure that they get hit. Or you can just risk it, like I
Yeah,
usually
so I
do.
think it's a blue and yellow and white switch, so... You know, if you had said no, the game doesn't eat your inputs, I would have said, I hope you die on this section.
Okay, I did do
Yeah.
the faster strat there. That was a little scary.
We're going to be resetting here because that saves us a little bit more time. Moreau's going to be caught in a different animation than usual, and it actually resets a future puzzle.
Get your copy pastas ready.
Yep. Here we go. Amazing. But yeah, the reason why Spicy reset there is the windmill that he'll be solving the future puzzle on actually has a set time cycle. And by moving at an adequate speed, Spicy is able to get the short windmill. If you get a long windmill, you actually do have to wait for the windmill to make a complete revolution. And that actually loses about 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah, hopefully I get it here. Even when you do the reset, sometimes you still miss it. I think it's a really like tight timing actually. You get it even if you do the reset, so.
You know, at some point of the story, Ethan could have just sympathized with 2 of the villains, 2 of the 4 major villains, and just had them on the team.
Yeah.
Caught myself a big one.
Nice little one-liner by Ethan there.
Good characterization there.
Here at the top of the tower, we're gonna be grabbing the crank that we need
Yes.
to drain the water.
You actually do need to inspect this future ladder before you're able to insert the crank. We don't know why, that's just how the game is. And hopefully we get a good windmill cycle coming down here. If I recall, I think Moreau's voice actor actually played a Resident Evil 7 character, and that is a slow windmill,
It
unfortunately.
is a marathon after all.
It is a marathon.
Hey, we didn't die on levers though, so
Yeah.
I was actually a little worried about the levers.
Oh, you
Water
want to
right
start
there.
there? Almost. So after this crate, we're actually going to be resetting. It propels Ethan maybe 4 or 5 seconds forward.
Yeah, it's actually maybe the second biggest one after the one in the intro.
Ethan hitting us with his dad joke one-liners.
Okay.
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 This is another one of those puzzles where I don't even know the colors, I just know the inputs. So if I mess up an input, it could get ugly.
I think we just, what is it, 2211, right?
Yeah, we got it.
We're actually going to be running as fast as we can to the boss area because if you're a little bit slow, Moreau actually has to go before you. But by going fast,
Got it.
we're actually ahead of Moreau, and he's going to propel us into the next area. Poor guy.
Yeah, usually you'd have to wait for him to walk by here.
So, Bullet Sponge Moreau, for those of you who have played this game, know that this is the most annoying boss fight. And even on Village of Shadows, if you've seen any of the runs, this is the hardest boss fight to master. On casual though, we're going to be throwing 3 specific pipe bombs. For the reason Spicy throws the second one here is it's going to be blowing up a red barrel. He's going to place 3 mines and hopefully below the 8, that should be Moreau. Perfect. Good execution.
Dang.
It
Sounds
is
really
so
good.
fast on casual. It's crazy.
So the reason why DA is so important is if your DA is too high, you actually have to shoot him with the sniper 2 or 3 times afterwards, which loses you about 8 to 10 seconds.
Yeah, because here we don't have any sniper fire rate upgrades yet, and it is quite slow by default.
And that is the DA adjustment we do all the way in the beginning, the Lycan Assault. So that is why that section is so important for this game. But throughout the rest of the run, DA is, I don't think it affects anything else pretty much.
No, from here on we don't care about DA. It's pretty much just for Moreau and Lady D. More for Moreau though.
So at this point of the story, we got 3 flasks. Heisenberg on the TV calls us and says, "Hey, Ethan, you want the 4th flask? Go and get it for me. I have an idea." And Ethan's just like, "Cool." So apparently the 4th flask is in the Lycan Stronghold, where we're going to be fighting, not Heisenberg, but a very familiar Arias. We're going to be
So actually, I
going
have a
to
question. If you got the time for it. So when you're talking about DA, do you have like speedrun tools that can see like health values or DA settings or anything like that, or is it just kind of a, you know, okay, if we take some hits here, the boss takes 2 mines instead of 3, that kind of thing?
We do have a speedrunning tool that does like read the game's code and tell us our DA, and it basically works off of like levels. Once you're under a certain DA, you drop a DA level, and that's what actually affects how much damage the bosses take. So we're aiming to be under a certain DA level, but yeah, we do have a tool that shows us. We're not like guessing, thankfully.
Yeah, the DA
Okay.
scores every 1,000 or raises the difficulty. So at this point in the run, Spicy's either at 0 or 1. And casual goes all the way up to 3, if I'm not mistaken. But we never hit that point till the end game. Even at the end game, I don't think we hit that.
I think you do after the Chris section.
I hate these enemies so much. They don't do any damage. They're just rams, but if they hit you, Ethan's like, ah! He
Yeah.
stops for 5-6 seconds.
Thankfully on casual, you can kind of just hip fire them like that. On Village of Shadows though, they're way too tanky, so you just kind of have to risk it and try to run by.
Imagine making the environmental animals tankier in the higher difficulty.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, the Lycan Stronghold, this is where all the Lycans are, as the name would imply. We're just going to be running, picking up a certain amount of stuff. While we're on that Village of Shadows talk, this section in Village of Shadows, I would say is one of the hardest to deal with on this fly because the enemy movement is so random. I think even the top runners take damage here, right? There's no way people get through this unscathed.
You can't. On Voss we take flashes here, which helps a lot. But yeah, you can still lose a run here. It's really rough. On casual, it is pretty free though,
We're going to be...
because the
flipping 2
enemies just
switches.
react so slow.
So we're going to be flipping 2 switches and then waiting for the gate to open up. And it is during this section where you have to kind of take your time and know where the enemies are on the higher difficulties. But for casual, we're just chilling.
We do make it seem like a lot of stuff is like pretty easy on casual, and at a base level it kind of is, but like when you're trying to push for like some better times and stuff, a lot of this stuff, like little things, can lose you runs and lose you a lot of time. So it is a little more in depth than we're making it seem.
It is the speedrunner to viewer dilemma, right? A lot of viewers say, wow, that was easy. And if they think it was easy, we did our job, right?
Yeah.
Go to Stronghold. Ah, my favorite bit of RNG coming up right here. Hopefully, Spicy gets grabbed. It is a marathon after all.
Grab another pipe bomb there from down below.
This must be their
Yeah, there are
den.
two things that can go wrong here. First is that my hip fire does not hit this guy's head. Like that. Yep, it is a marathon after all. And then second is after we come off of this zip line here, there is a chance that we just get grabbed and there's nothing we can do about it because we're still locked into an animation. He did it early, so we didn't actually get put in the animation. If you're still in the zipline animation, you won't get actually put into a grab animation. You'll just take damage.
A group of enemies spawn up here. We'll just try to slink by them. How funny would it be if you got in there, actually?
Yeah, that would have been the cherry on top, dude.
Oh, yeah.
The bosses have been
be-
good so far, though. So
Oh, yeah. Another cool movement tech coming up here. It's called the shimmy, which a lot of people will meme that I didn't know about this meme until after I quit running Village.
only 3 months of playing the game, you didn't know about the tech.
No, like you're holding
funny.
what? What key are you holding? You're holding A here, but apparently if you
Holding
tap the
A and then letting go and tapping W.
Yep, so much like Snow Walk, if you tap it at a specific part, Ethan cancels an animation, and he kind of just glides through the section. But we're going to be coming up to the main boss fight of this area, Arias. Very simple idea, relatively similar, easy difficulty, execution. We're going to be needing to shoot the sniper in a very accurate spot. So he takes more damage from a headshot, go figure, as any boss would.
That's not good.
But there's actually going to be one shot we're going to be taking that's not a headshot. And the reason we do this is because we want to stagger Rise during his second roar. If we shoot him a little bit early, the roar actually spawns enemies. But by doing this shot order we did, specifically, no enemies spawn into the area, and we're able to just kill the boss without any interruption and intervention from the other way. That is a cleaner eyes coming.
Wait, was it 2 sniper shots? I guess it was
No,
2
it was
sniper
one.
shots.
I think you missed the high cavern one. To be honest.
Might have, yeah.
Yeah. And there's a cleaner eyes. So now you pick up the force flask, and this is where Heisenberg just tells you, you know what? I have a factory on the edge of the village. Come meet me there. I have an idea I want to share with you. I want to give this treasure a very, very, very special shout out that Spicy ran by. And so it is a golden plate called Guillermo's Treasure. It sells for 20,000 lei, which is the currency of this game. And I was in a Village of Shadows tournament. And a Village of Shadows at the time was very specific about what item pickups you needed. I was so excited I had to clean Arias boss fight. I forgot to pick up the treasure. And towards the end of the game, I realized I didn't have enough money. I was soft locked and finished 8th out of 8th at that
That was
Village
so
of Shadows
bad,
tournament.
man.
Yeah, I was just devastated. You know, it didn't matter what place I got, but the fact that I couldn't finish the run, I was just like, ugh,
Yeah.
feels bad, man.
Boss still, it really is that specific on money still. There's still like spots where you get screwed over if you don't get good money drops.
But with all 4 flasks, we're able to enter one of the final areas of the game, the factory. Say goodbye to the village. We will not be seeing
It's
this
my
again.
greatest pleasure to see
Well,
you
kind
return
of.
alive.
Yeah.
But
Well, the
destroyed.
village as we know it.
On
yeah.
fire. Was this chalice ever really explained? Like, why are we putting the 4 flasks in a chalice?
Let me know
Because
if you
Resident
need
Evil, man.
something.
Come on. What?
I suppose, yeah. We did say it earlier. You can't overthink it too much. It's a Resident
For
Evil
those
game.
so for those of you who caught the detail underneath the chalice, there was an umbrella symbol. The lore goes that Mother Miranda was actually one of the original members who founded Umbrella with Alexander Spencer from Resident Evil 0. So we're going to be placing the chalice here to enter the factory area.
Factory area is where the game kind of goes off rails from everything
yeah.
that we've seen so far.
But it is so fun.
It is very fun to do.
Like I said, Amy, if you have any questions or if chat has any questions, feel free. Otherwise, we're going to be listening to Heisenberg's cool voice line. I really like his voice.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really cool run so far. The optimizations that y'all have put in with like the DA adjustments and stuff, like that's I love seeing stuff like that because it's so impressive what people can come up with, like when you know your end goal and you just kind of work backwards from there.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, you go, okay, I have this much stuff I can kill the boss with. How can I use it all, or can I save some of it? You know.
Yeah, we've done a lot of that with like Factory and Moreau and deciding like, yeah, like you said, working backwards. How many pipes can we have up to this point in the game? What bosses should we use them on? Which boss is going to be faster? Using this amount of pipes, this amount of mines. It's been a decent amount of work, but it's been fun.
Yeah. And
Also,
then
shout out to.
Oh, sorry.
Good.
What are you planning?
I was gonna say even like, you know, can we take a hit somewhere and skip a pipe, that kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Captain Ezekiel, who did the RE7 run previously. He actually was the one that kind of, I think, figured out the whole DA system in this game and routed a lot of this category from the DA. So
Yeah, we cannot give him enough shoutouts. He, honestly, for the casual difficulty is entirely him and Spicy routing. Just the rest of us just kind of copied and contributed. But for during that section, the boss of the area was actually chasing it. It is a giant propeller
What was that thing?
with legs, and a mini boss coming up here, the ledge. Spicy, good job. Yeah, so that ledge is actually a meme because the climb box for that ledge is a little bit weird. A lot of runners would tell you they'll try to climb up that ledge, and Ethan just does not climb up that ledge. I've seen some runners actually stay, 40 seconds on that ledge because they're just like, okay, game. Why are you
yeah,
not climbing?
it's really unfortunate.
Oops, sorry. Big shout out to Nico with AC as well.
Who? I'm just
the runner.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Just kidding.
Too far.
Congrats on the full-time job and the girlfriend, Nico.
This place is messed up. I've got to get upstairs.
Anyway, the factory section. We're gonna try to escape from the factory. There are 3 levels we have to go through. Basement 4, Basement 3, and Basement 1. We're gonna be introduced to a new type of enemies called the Soldats. And the Soldats are pretty much zombies, but Heisenberg's been kind of providing them with upgrades. So a lot of mecha-inspired enemies here. Some of the Soldats have drills, some of the Soldats have jetpacks, some of the Soldats have, laser beams, everything going on. It's everything. This is where the game, like Spicy said, really goes off the rails.
Yep. And here is where you're going to see the first of a few FPS swaps. There's a few spots we have to do this in Factory. Fortunately.
So this room, we're actually going to be coming back to a lot to craft all of our keys with the different types of metallic molds that we find. But for now, a lot of FPS changing. We're actually going to be resetting up right here so that the enemies behind us reset their AI. If we don't do this, the enemies will kind of barge into our room and block us. And no foreshadowing there, a guy with a drill just chilling in the chair.
It was only a little bit obvious. He's going to get up right there. You can actually slip by that FPS swapping there on casual, and boss you do have to FPS swap there. I would just wait a little bit for this to craft.
Just chilling. On the higher difficulties, there are stronger enemies immediately. And there's actually a fully armored Soldat in this general area.
He sits right in front of the machine to make the molds, yeah.
But how do we get around him? You'll have to support the village community to find out when we get a Village of Shadows runs going.
This round, this room
yes.
is probably the worst room in the game.
Is it your least favorite room?
That is my least favorite room. I'm just gonna take it slow to be safe.
If I was really sadistic, I have Spicy explain it as he's doing it, but I'm gonna take the pressure off him. Pretty much, if you get hit by any of those, you're caught in a stagger animation. Oh. Okay,
I
almost.
thought I got knocked into it. I was about to be so upset.
Yeah. So pretty much, it comes from you want to rush through it, but by rushing through it, you lose 3-4 seconds each time. So you actually do have to wait for that the pistons to make a full cycle. You actually do have to. You actually don't have any sort of time frame to work with. You
Yeah,
have to
it's a
run.
delicate balance between like wanting to go fast and like try to not wait for the next cycle, but also, you know, not getting hit.
You're gonna notice these doors with bulbs that Spicy's gonna need to shoot before the door opens. The reason why we picked up the grenade launcher, a good chunk of the reason why at least, is there are a lot of bulb doors that have 5 bulbs on them. So instead of actually shooting them with a pistol, we're just gonna be blowing them up with a grenade launcher.
Here we have another soldat. We're just gonna bait him while we wait for this.
I think he wants a high five. You go up to him.
I'm good. I'll pass.
You gonna show the little funny
Yeah.
cog
Let's see.
interaction thing?
Yeah, how far I can get from it.
Run away from the cog? Nope. The game's like,
Yeah.
where do you think you're going?
You can like blow yourself up and stuff too. If you like knock yourself on the ground with a pipe, you'll just stand up again to start pulling the lever immediately. It's really funny looking.
A bunch of soldats in the area. The movements and lines are very precise here to not get hit by enemies. Obviously, Spicy makes it look easier, but we're going to be using the grenade launcher here to get rid of the first door. Picking up an extra mine here, running by a couple of enemies, and opening another door. Very precise movement. I think if you're even half a second off, enemies grab you, or you get hit.
To be her children. She locked us away in the village. Decades of being forced to
You
serve
see
her.
Spicy pre-fire a
Can you
nade from the first floor to open that fire
understand
door.
that humiliation?
This is actually one of the areas in 80% that we do out of bounds. For this bridge, we actually out of bounds to skip waiting for it to come down. It's
I'm
kind of
not
cool.
like my siblings. I want nothing more than to be free, bitch.
Whoa, Heisenberg, watch your language.
So I need power.
So yeah,
Keep rolling.
So if you've seen any sort of, I guess The Incredibles would be a good example, but you know they go on that spiel about how villains make a monologue. Heisenberg is pretty much talking for
Are the
the
fruits
whole,
of my power.
I don't know, 20,
Yeah,
30
it's,
minutes.
Strong will destroy the weak. That's the way of the world. You should have never refused me, Ethan.
The VA really is so good. You kind of like appreciate it a little less once you play the game so many times and you stop paying attention to it, but it is
So
so
that's
good.
B4. We're actually on B3 right now. Casually, you're able to go between floors and access the Duke, but we're just not going to be accessing the Duke. We're just going to be running into each next area.
No.
A little bit more of Heisenberg complaining
All her
with
humanity.
his mommy issues.
Destroy her.
You ever hated your mother so much you created an underground factory and super soldiers that would destroy her?
I cannot say I have personally.
Me neither, dude. So the only room.
I'm a little nervous for this room.
So the only hard room of B3 is there are 4 bulbs around this giant fan, and Spicy actually needs to hit them in a very quick and precise order, because the fan is on a cycle, and if Spicy does this slowly, the fan will not stop in time to prevent him getting drilled by one of these soldats. And you cannot block these soldats. You can take reduced damage, but if you get hit by any of these soldats, they will put you in a 8 to 10 second animation of Ethan going as he takes a drill to the stomach. But nothing an herb can't heal, right?
You might get hit here.
Oh yeah. Ooh, you got triple hit. Ooh.
That's the really unfortunate one. Luckily, we had enough stuff to make a heal there.
It is a marathon.
Yeah.
So what had actually happened there was, if you start the ladder animation, the enemies can still hit you. Obviously, you're not locked into the damage animation, but there's a bug there where the drill can actually hit you 2 or 3 times. So I think Spicy took actually the most unluckiest source of damage
Yeah.
and got put into danger.
Not really sure why it happens, but sometimes they'll just jump up there early. Like what happened there? Can cause something like that.
A very hard puzzle. You're being hurled into a fan with a giant red bulb. Where do you shoot?
I died a few times here casually.
Yeah, I try to get as close as I can to the fan.
That was close.
Yeah, that is B3 as we head on to B1, the final section.
B1 can get kind of memey as well.
I mean, B1 itself is not memey. It's the fact that B1 relies you to go back to B4.
Or B4, I meant is memey. The dark area down there, yeah.
So there is no actual section for B1. B1 is where we're going to be fighting the mini boss of this section, but it does require you to go back to B4 with all the different types of soldats now spawning in that, the forge room, we call it.
If that happens, it's all over. For your kids.
I'm a little nervous for Sturm too. I'm not gonna lie. Sturm strat is so tight.
Yeah, so I'll tell you guys why Spicy and Captain Ezekiel are amazing at this category, because I think they're the only two that actually do that super hard strat for Sturm.
Poor Papa. You're the only one.
Meanwhile, Heisenberg's still saying that, you know, Ethan, I need a friend. I hate Mother Miranda in 20
I'd
different
like to see
ways.
you try.
At this point of the story, Heisenberg pretty much said, Ethan, why don't we team up and take Mother Miranda together? Your daughter Rose has a bunch of powers, etc., etc. Let's team up and use her powers to beat Mother Miranda. Ethan, being a good father, is going to say, don't use my daughter. And at this point, that's when Heisenberg kind of just gets a little bit emo and puts you in the factory.
Also, the voice line there where he says, "Take my daughter. I'd like to see you try." I don't know if it's like an oversight, but they took her once already, and we also just left all 4 pieces of her in the chalice in the middle of nowhere. Like it's just sitting out there. Like anyone could just go take it. It's funny.
I don't know. Ethan's pretty fast. We've gotten here in what, an hour 10, hour 15? Pretty fast, man.
It's dark.
There's only one part of this section that can kind of go wrong. Up here, one of the soldats can kind of block the door sometimes.
Everyone has their own strats, honestly, running this section.
Yeah.
Some are faster than others. Some are a little bit more riskier than others. So that soldat running by him is actually pretty free. I think it's free. I've been told it's not, but...
First, sometimes he like blocks me and hits me, and I'm not really sure what causes it. Luckily, we didn't get the marathon RNG there. I thought we were gonna get.
On the way out, we're going to be running into 2 armored soldats. And the reason why, instead of killing them or blowing them up, is because they're fully armored, we actually need 2 sets of hits on them. We need a full explosive hit to take off all their armor, and then we need an actual shot to stun them. So for the first one, we're actually going to be waiting for a second, and kind of just zipping around them.
It's gone really far back there.
Yeah, for the second soldat, he's just in the middle of the hallway. We're going to be using the old RE7 30 FPS trick.
Hopefully. Yeah,
Only in a marathon. You know, you almost got hit twice. Only in a marathon.
yeah, I know, right?
And now with the new key, we're going to be fighting the mini boss of this area called Sturm. The giant propeller.
Mark W.
I'm going to try to explain this as simply as I can. Spicy is going to be placing a couple of mines, which isn't the hard part, to do damage. But at this point, after the mine damage, Sturm is going to need 3 pipe bombs to die. So normally you can throw off 2 pipe bombs before you throw the third, and the third one will actually blow up early because the 2 blow up, thus hurting you. But normally people just do a cycle of 2 pipe bombs, wait, and then 1. Spicy is actually going to try to do 3 to kill the boss, and it's a very tight window. So, wait into it. Very clean, there you go. And that's the way to do it. And
Actually, so scary.
Yeah, I want to give Spicy and Captain Ezekiel major shout outs. Because correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there are a lot. I think there are less than 10 runners that can do that strat. I think everyone else does the 2, wait for 1.
Yeah. Shout out to Captain Zico for actually making that strat. He was the one that came up with it.
I remember his conversation the day, because we're all in a group chat. He said, "Spicy, you're gonna hate me," and then he told us the strat.
It does save a lot of time from Yolden though. It was like a 7-second time save, so when you're pushing for the record, it was like kind of mandatory. It's rough though.
I guess a quick question from chat. As a speedrunner, Spicy, do you still get scared in this game? Or is everything just very normal?
No, everything's definitely normal.
Oh, yeah.
Scariness kind of wore off after like, I don't know, the first like 2 playthroughs.
At this point of the story, Heisenberg turns into a giant metal monster. And what else to fight a giant metal monster than with our own tank? A very
Yeah,
well-placed game.
as we were saying, the game goes a little off rails here. Like, it's a little crazy.
This is my favorite Gundam fight, actually, you know. Can you show off your chainsaw for us?
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. Chainsaw in one hand, an infinite turret on the other hand.
I actually didn't know for the longest time that the chainsaw actually does damage. I thought it was just for blocking, but it actually does damage.
I think for the knife run, you only have the chainsaw. Spicy's actually going to reset here because he used an explosive to open the gate, and the explosive actually gets put on cooldown, but by resetting, it instantly puts it off cooldown. So we're going to be fighting Heisenberg, and where else do we shoot him but the 3 bright orange spots on his body? So this part is actually very easy, yet hard. Spicy's shooting him in a very precise pattern and method, so that when Heisenberg phases into the next stage, he is as close as he can to the spot he will travel to. If Heisenberg is actually super far away, it'll be 15-20 seconds because he has to travel the entire map to get to that one spot.
As you see here, he moves very slowly here, and he has to go to a set spot.
So imagine if you had knocked him down at the other side, you know, he would actually take 15-20 seconds. Also during this time, Chris Redfield is blowing up Heisenberg's factory. And a bit of an RE5 shout out right here. That boulder punching guy.
This tower didn't break. That's weird. I've never seen this tower be up. Interesting.
I think because on an optimal cycle, you're pushing back to blow up the tower, right? But yeah, that is the Heisenberg boss fight. The rest of this fight is scripted as you just hit him with another round of explosives, and we'll be hitting the last part of the game.
Just a heads up also, during this little cutscene right here, the frames might die. I'm not sure why it happens, but this cutscene kills OBS for some reason.
Could be the million metal particles flying through the air.
Perhaps.
Rip my favorite boss.
This can't be the end for me! I must kill her!
Enough for Heisenberg.
I really hope the DLC is like, you can play Heisenberg as a character. That'd be really fun.
I'm very excited to see what they do for DLC.
Yep, so after you beat all 4 lords, at this point of the story, Mother Miranda comes and greets you and kills Ethan. Dun dun dun. So now you'll be playing as Chris Redfield for the rest of the game. Which is funny, because nothing you did mattered to this point. No weapon progression, no health upgrades, nothing. No treasure upgrades, anything. Ethan is dead. And now we're going to be using Chris to finish the rest of the game.
Share your screen.
A lot of us runners call this the Call of Duty section, because I think, Spicy, if you could show us your inventory.
Yeah, just get a bunch of ammo, guns, grenades.
Yeah, like a machine pistol, an assault rifle, a bunch of grenades, yeah.
But thanks to your recon, we know Miranda's plan.
And I think Chris actually has double the HP of Ethan, right?
I think he does, yeah.
So we're going to be running through the village.
Everyone watch
pretty
for
much to get to
hostile
to Mother Miranda to fight her.
Made contact.
Spicy's going to be looking up here because this manipulates enemy AI. There are actually a group of Lycans here that spawn, and what we used to do is throw nades or just shoot them.
I got body blocked so hard there that time. Literally has never happened before too.
Oh, he said the line. He said the line.
He said the line.
Anyway. But yeah. What was supposed to happen is the enemy AI kind of just leaves you alone if you make that line perfectly. But yeah, welcome to Call of Duty. A lot of nades, very specific nade throws actually.
That's probably where Miranda is.
Yeah, this next part coming up is the very specific nade throws.
The gauntlet.
If you mess it up, then you can get grabbed really easily.
How many runs have you died to the gauntlet right here?
Roger.
I don't even want to think about it.
So you have to throw grenades very specifically, but sometimes the enemies just eat the grenades, they just don't take damage. Because it is pretty much an infinite spawn of enemies coming down this narrow pathway.
I'm not sure what staggered me from behind before that caused that, but yeah, and that's what we're talking about. Sometimes you'll just get staggered by something and then your nade cycle will get thrown off. It's pretty rough.
Hey Spicy,
What's up?
I'd catch a grenade for you. Anyway, so this next section we gotta hit the we gotta hit that giant mutated plant with the laser 3 times. There's obviously a cooldown, enemies are gonna spawn in between. There's a very specific way people do this. I think every runner does it differently though, right? Just to pass the time.
Yeah, everyone kind of has their own way.
Yeah, but essentially what the concept is, as soon as the laser comes off of cooldown, you want to be away from enemies or have killed all the enemies that you're able to just fire the laser without getting interrupted. Because if you take any sort of damage, the laser cancels.
Okay, Captain, I'm reloaded.
And for some reason, the laser could also bug out. We still don't know why, but sometimes the game won't register with the laser hits.
About to collapse. Hold your horses. I'm reloading.
Can't say I would have been surprised if it happened there.
I always think about
It really doesn't
Nico.
happen often though.
I always think about
Yeah,
Nico.
the Nico clip, yeah. And again, kind of just trying to time this flash so that we can get the last laser shot off for free.
I'm reloaded.
And it's actually funny, if you throw that stun grenade at an improper timing while someone's grabbing you, that enemy will not be stunned because he was technically game registered that you didn't grab animation.
Take that.
But Spicy wants to be close as he can to the plant so he can walk through as it despawns as we fight the riots yet once again.
From the bakers and
The Spicy is going to be throwing grenades here at a very specific time once the iframes of the boss ends. And by throwing the grenades at a very specific time, we put the HP values of the Rice at a very specific spot that he's able to stagger all the time. What happens if we mess up? You know, considering this run, we might be able to show what happens when we mess up. But normally, if we put him in a set HP thresholds, the Rise will always be staggered. But if the HP values are inconsistent, he'll actually be swinging around and you're going to lose time trying to just chase the weak spot and stuff. So it looks like Spicy got it. The Rise is in a constant stagger at this moment of the run. There we go, clean
Might have been
Rise.
able to kill him in the last mag.
So fun fact, reloading with bullets left in the chamber reloads a little bit quicker than if you ran out of bullets. So you see a lot of top runners trying to reload with 1 or 2 bullets left.
I'll keep
That
going.
is the Chris section.
Rest of
We're
you,
going to be
stay above
Miranda
ground.
was the
running
fake
into
here. Where's
the
the
Mega Mycete,
I doubt she saw any
the origin
footage
of the mold in
I don't
Resident
get
Evil
any
7
of
and
this.
Resident Evil
How
8.
did Miranda even know Rose exists? A moldy little bird told her, maybe?
We can figure that out later.
Right there,
Focus
the end of Urias after he was dead, we reloaded the checkpoint to make the treasure drop from him because we do need that.
And there we go, the Mega Mycete.
Captain, I have eyes
So
on
that cutscene,
Miranda.
Chris actually plants an
Keep your
explosive
distance. Do not move until I give the order.
for later usage in the
I know
Mega
it's too
Mycete.
late now, but
But for now, we're going to be going to a jail cell, a secret
there
chamber,
wasn't time.
only
We
to
didn't
find
expect Miranda to act so
clues
soon.
and maybe a certain
Even so,
familiar somebody.
you should have told him.
A lot of people guilt tripping
Yeah.
Chris there for letting Ethan die.
This must be Miranda's lab.
Surprise. It's Mia. We saved Mia. And at this point, Chris is just like, dude, not dude, Mia, I'm sorry. I let Ethan die. And Mia's just like, no. He's got superpowers. So this whole cutscene here kind of ties back to Resident Evil 7. So for a lot of you who have seen that run beforehand, you saw that Ethan actually gets dragged off by Jack in the guest house of the section. But what Resident Evil Village shows you is that Ethan actually had died during that collision with Jack. But Evangeline has given him the power of the mold as well. That explains a lot of the memes where he got his hand cut off and he's still able to repair. It is because he's not human. He is a mold. And that is why he is alive as we enter the final Duke stop. We're going to be selling everything and just upgrading our sniper rifle to deal with the final boss fight.
Assemblage of life and machine. I can feel Lord Heisenberg's essence through it.
This boss fight is somewhat easy. The concept is easy. It's just continuously shoot your sniper into her and place a couple of mines in front of her. But the shots are very precise. You need to shoot the main body, and that sounds easy, but she has a lot of wings, she has a lot of legs as she morphs into her different forms. We're going to be skipping all of those phases with a couple of shots. If you do play this casual, it is a very fun final boss fight. She has, I think, 4 or 5 forms. She goes into like a dark world form, turns into a spider, she turns into a bird, she hurls the sun at you. It's pretty fun.
Ideally, on casual difficulty, on the speedrun, we see none of that. We're gonna be skipping the dark phase and the final phase.
Yeah, you're gonna see her transform for a second and then just transform to the next stage. So here we go, good luck, Spicy.
You fulfilled your purpose, Mr. Winters. You disposed of my false children and awakened the glorious Nicholas. Now, please do not worry the little Rose. I assure you I'll provide her with peace. So now you can die.
Should be dead. Yep.
And there we go. We're locked into a cutscene where, spoilers, you can't really die. So Ethan's gonna have to play
pretty
a couple
scripted.
more shots.
To ensure I never see your face.
And time will be coming up here in a few more shots. I'll call for it. And
GG, Spicy.
that's not too
Nice. That was a really good run.
bad. Definitely got memed a little bit, but not too bad. The boss has been alright, which biggest part. And that was Resident Evil Village New Game Casual. A few shoutouts I want to give. Shoutouts to Captain Ezekiel, which saw for routing most of this, like we talked about earlier. Shoutouts to the Village community. Everyone over there is really nice. Shout out to the mods for working a lot on this game, spending a lot of time. Especially when it was hyped, they were backed up a lot, and they put in a lot of time to make sure that the cube was kept up with. The tool creators for this game, really awesome. Even through all the updates that the game has had and everything that kind of broke the tools, they keep coming back and fixing them. So huge shout out to those guys. Shout out to anybody that has supported me playing this game on Twitch. At any point, you guys know who you are in chat. I see some of you. I appreciate all you. I think that's all I have. Overcome if you want to do any shout outs or anything.
Yeah, I mean, same shout-outs pretty much. Shout-outs to the Village runners, moderators, Captain Ezekiel, especially for this. Shout-out to the previous runners of this game who have played on HotFix or GDQ channel, Maxi Lobes and Catlink. And also a big shout-out to Waifu, who has hosted a Village tournament in the past, out of his own pocket money, and donations, of course. Like I said, this game is very fun to get into, and there's so many different categories and there's so many different routes for all the difficulties that both new runners and veteran runners are going to have a very fun time. So definitely get into that. We have a Discord on the speedrun.com page. I definitely take a lot of DMs for any questions you have, but thank you guys, HotFix, and thank you to the viewers, and you guys have been great. So back to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. I've just got a couple of quick announcements before we go. Frame Fatale's Games Community applications are now open, so go to gamesdonequick.com to apply. Frame Fatale's has been selected as a finalist for the Game Her Awards, so learn more with the ! Vote. If you missed out on this show or other shows that you wanted to see before this, like Kingdom Hearts 2 or Resident Evil 7, check out the archive at youtube.com/gamesdonequick, or if you're watching this on YouTube, check us out at twitch.tv/gamesdonequick, most nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. We have a bunch of new shows starting up the next few weeks, so check out gamesdonequick.com/hotfix and watch the Twitter for more information when they start. GDQ Summer Best Segments is on YouTube. It's a quick little bite-sized rundown of each game and all the funny and good and cool skips from each. And finally, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have Mercy Kill, followed by Never Before Seen. And I'm actually going to be on Mercy Kill tomorrow. So if you want to see me be really bad at games I'm rusty at, come check that out. And I think that's all for tonight. Thank you all for showing up for this. Thank you, Spicy and Captain Ezekiel, for doing the runs. Really, really good time.
Thank you for having me.